It is a perfect night for baseball and a perfect place to spend 4th of July weekend. From our nation's capital, welcome to Baseball Night in America as the Reds and Nationals get set to play Game 3 of this 4-game series. The Nationals try to win their 7th in a row and trying to extend that division lead. We say welcome inside, CJ Nitkowski. I'm Joe Davis. In a season, CJ, where Bryce Harper has not been himself, Ryan Zimmerman having his worst career year. A couple of guys have had breakout seasons, Daniel Murphy and Wilson Ramos.
Well, if you want to win here in Major League Baseball, you got to have a couple of guys that are going to step up when your superstars are not getting it done, and those guys have been Daniel Murphy and Wilson Ramos for the Washington Nationals. Daniel Murphy has been near the top of all of Major League Baseball when it comes to batting average. And how about Wilson Ramos, another career year guy coming almost out of nowhere, had struggled offensively, but really getting it done on both sides of the ball.
In the case of the Reds, this is a rebuilding season for the second season in a row. They're on pace right now to lose more than 100 games. Jay Bruce, a guy that it seems like over the last few years has always been rumored as a trade target, and for the first time during that stretch, it's looking like he could bring quite a haul.
I think this might be the year. You look at his contract, he has an option year for next year, and so his value will start to go down if they don't trade him by this trading deadline. It's been very good this year, especially against left-handed hitters, which has always been a little bit of an issue. The power has been there for him in the past, but now the batting average against lefties has been up. Without a doubt, Jay Bruce will be moved before this year's over.
Slides into the 3 spot in the Cincinnati order tonight. Joey Votto's a late scratch. Adam Duvall was supposed to get the day off. He's plugged in. We'll give you more details on that lineup when we come back to play baseball from Washington, D.C. Bryce Harper and the Nationals against the Cincinnati Reds. Baseball Night in America after this. Here in Washington, D.C., third game of this 4-game series between the Reds and the Nationals. Nationals taking the first 2 games of this set. Well, this Reds lineup already was going to look quite a bit different than Reds fans had gotten used to seeing. Brandon Phillips dropped down in the order to the 6th spot. He'd been hitting 3rd. Joey Votto was scheduled to hit third, but he's a late scratch because of a sore shoulder. So Bruce moves up from cleanup to third. Adam Duvall, who is scheduled to get the day off, is now inserted into the lineup to back cleanup. But again, Phillips was scheduled to hit down there around the bottom of the order. Brian Price trying to put a jolt into his bat. The Nationals getting ready to take the field behind Joe Ross. First place in the National League East with his 6-game winning streak. After a 7-game skid, which was their longest losing streak in 7 seasons. And the Mets and the Marlins were knocking on the door, but then Washington swept New York to begin this week, and that lead back to a comfortable 6 games starting action tonight. You saw Ross take the field. He's only 23 years old, out of Oakland, California. Monday against New York, he had given up 4 runs over the first 3 innings. He was in trouble again in the 4th, and for the first time this year, Dusty Baker came out for a visit that was to do something other than make a change, and all Joe Ross did after that was retire 9 in a row and get out of that thing after 6 innings.
Well, sometimes those managers' meetings are exactly what a young pitcher needs, and Joe Ross is just 23 years old. He's basically a 2-pitch pitcher. He does throw a changeup, but it's going to be mostly fastballs and sliders today, and the ground game becomes so important. He's got a very heavy sinker, keeping the ball on the ground, allowing his defense to work. When you see those things, that's when you see Joe Ross at his absolute best.
Got off to a great start here in his 2nd major league season. May was okay. June, not nearly as good. And as the calendar turns to July, he makes his first start this month and his first career start against Cincinnati. Got some pretty good defense around him. Fewest errors in the majors from this Washington D. It's been 8 games since they committed one. You've got to go back to Michael Taylor's 3-base error that cost them the game in Los Angeles about a week and a half ago, and Yasiel Puig was able to put together old-fashioned Little League home run to win that game. But that's the last error committed by this defense.
And what a difference a year makes. Danny Espinosa at short has done an excellent job. Last year, Ian Desmond was the shortstop here and got off to an awful start defensively, and those errors were pretty big, and that was part of the reason the Washington Nationals got off to such a slow start.
Zach Cozart leads things off for Cincinnati. Joe Ross's first pitch of the night is a fastball that misses away, and off we go. Here in the 3rd game of this series. Washington with a 13-4 win on Thursday, and then in 14 innings last night, Nationals winning 3-2. 2-0 on Cozart, who has cooled off over the last couple of weeks. After a nice first 2.5 months of this season, he has 1 for his last 26. Yeah, waits on this 2-0. Strike 1.
You can see the movement on that 93-mile-an-hour fastball from Joe Ross, and that is what he does so well. You're not going to see anything straight. Even in that count, it's a 2-0 count. It's a hitter's count. Throw it down the middle, and then look at that late movement. That is so nasty, and that is that pitch that induces so many ground balls.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Ross was acquired in a trade before last season in a 3-team deal. He's a former first-round pick of the Padres. And the Nationals were able to score him and their top position prospect in Trey Turner, who's at AAA right now, shortstop. Got both of those guys and gave up to Steven Souza, who's now in Tampa Bay. Cozart singles into center to start the night for Cincinnati. Umpiring crew for this series is led by the 38-year veteran Gary Cedarstrom. He's the crew chief, and at third base after calling balls and strikes in the 14-inning game last night. Eric Cooper, veteran of 18 seasons, behind the dish this evening.
38 years? Did you say 38 years of arguing and taking a bunch of crap from major leaguers all those years and telling them to be quiet and kicking a few, or at least way more than a few, out of baseball games? That's an incredible career.
Jose Peraza. Like I think I heard you mention a couple weeks ago when we were together, there are no home games for umpires.
Probably one of the most underappreciated parts of professional sports are the umpires, the officials, these guys on the road all the time. There is never a crowd that's happy to see those guys when they go into a ballpark, into a stadium, into an arena. They are usually always on the bad end of whatever is coming from the fans as they kind of share their displeasure.
That one gets by Ramos. Cozart advances into scoring position. So wild pitch from Joe Ross, and the Reds with the first inning opportunity.
Well, that was a slider from Joe Ross that he just yanked across his body and pulled it straight down into the ground. And we've even seen his sinker through these first few pitches, 7 total that have gone to the other side of the plate. So right now he's feeling out that release point, trying to find it, trying to get comfortable and get those pitches exactly where he wants them.
Cozart at second, nobody out in the first inning, and a 1-1. And Peraza fouls it down the right field line, 1-2. It's a guy that the Cincinnati Reds like, making his third start in left field, but he's played all over the place in his couple of stints in the majors this season. They got him as part of that Todd Frazier deal. He came over from the Los Angeles Dodgers during the offseason. Ryan Price. Ross is 1-2. Able to lay off his slider, and the count evens. There is Price. In his third season as the manager, he was the pitching coach under now Nationals manager Dusty Baker over the 4 seasons prior to taking over the head job. Peraza gets hit with a 2-2. And 2 on with nobody out against Ross.
Well, I talked about Joe Ross trying to find that arm slot and that release point as he looks for consistency. He had been pulling everything away, and now here he goes with a pitch that gets away from him that he does not get through. It's a 2-seam fastball, but it comes in with some thump as it catches Peraza up near his shoulder, and that one absolutely stings. We say this about sinker ballers. The ball comes in heavy. What does that mean exactly? Scientists will tell you we have a hard time proving what it means, but you can feel it. When you play catch with a sinker baller, it just hurts a little bit more on your hand. It definitely hurts a little bit more when it catches you in the shoulder.
Talked about Jay Bruce off of the top. Here he is for his first at bat tonight. And after his 2 worst seasons as a major leaguer in 2014 and 15, he's putting together a career year here in 2016. Once again, a trade target. It's been the case pretty consistently the last 3 years or so. On 1-0. Bruce dumps it back, 1-1. And a different story for him this year in these situations. He's top 5 in the majors with runners in scoring position. He hit just 180 in these situations last year.
You mentioned it, a career year and everything going right for Jay Bruce at this moment, and that is why he has become a guy that is so often talked about. It's why scouts are following the Reds now more than ever as they watch Jay Bruce every day. Offense very difficult to come by in the trade market.
Late swing, 1-2.
Heard some rumors about the Cleveland Indians with Michael Brantley being out and maybe not coming back this year. I don't know if that's necessarily the greatest fit. The one thing about the Indians is that they have a lot of lefties and switch hitters. They could use a right-handed bat, but at the same time, getting your hands on the best available might be the right play. So that's a team that we've been hearing about that might be a fit for Jay Bruce.
It was reported that there was a done deal in a 3-team trade with the Blue Jays and the Angels for Bruce during spring training that fell through because of physicals of minor leaguers that were involved. Ross gets him with an elevated fastball for the first out of the night.
Not exactly where Wilson Ramos wanted it, but they will take it. That sinker, ideally, you're usually going to throw that pitch down. It ends up in the zone, but Jay Bruce is unable to catch up with it. Still great movement despite the fact that that sinker is up in the strike zone.
Adam Duvall was supposed to get a day off, and then about an hour before game time, it was announced that Joey Votto had been scratched with a sore shoulder. So Duvall inserted into the lineup at first base. Acquired in the Mike Leake deal at the deadline last year from San Francisco. And started the season in a platoon in left field. won that job outright over Scott Schebler and has hammered 22 home runs, which puts him second in the NL. Yanked down the left field line. It's a fair ball into the corner. And Duvall, who was inserted into the lineup late, has himself a 2-run double. And the Reds with an early lead.
How about Adam Duvall thinking, as you mentioned, maybe today was going to be a day off, and instead he gets an opportunity to start tonight's game, and he gets a pitch that he can handle with a couple of runners on base. It's another two-seam fastball that's up in the zone. Does a good job of keeping his hands in and not hooking this ball too much, just enough to keep it fair. And it's a quick 2 RBIs for Adam Duvall.
Now his 58th this season. So the Reds with 2 runs against Ross already, still just 1 out. Now Eugenio Suarez to the plate. He started to heat up lately, riding his 6-game hitting streak. Ross's first one is fouled back, strike 1. Let's look at the keys to the game, sponsored by the Lincoln Motor Company.
Well, a couple of things here for the Cincinnati Reds, making it count. And what I mean by that is working the count, and we've seen that so far. Just 1 out here and 17 pitches thrown by Ross. And then for the Washington Nationals, Murphy's Law, not the way you're thinking of it, where everything that's going to go wrong will go wrong, but everything going right. We're flipping the script there a little bit. Daniel Murphy has been so good, and this is about Bryce Harper and Jason Worth getting on base in front of him, giving him an opportunity to drive in runs. A career year in home runs, tied a career high, has Daniel Murphy so far this season.
Helping the Nationals to this first place position they're in at the midway point of the season by a full 6 games. And they've been in first place all but 4 days this season. Ross ahead of Suarez, 0-2. Able to lay off his slider, ball 1.
You watch the stuff of Joe Ross and you can see why this Washington Nationals team likes him so much. I mentioned it, nothing is straight. The slider, good dive, good break away from the lefties. When he throws his sinker right, bearing in, righties bearing in on those hands of righties. The ball goes in 2 different directions. It's just about command for him, and he has struggled with that so far in this game.
Suarez bounces one to third. Stephen Drew making the start for Rendon. 2 gone. And up comes Brandon Phillips. It was just yesterday that some of the local media in Cincinnati had asked Brian Price when Brandon Phillips would be moved out of that 3 spot with his struggles after a hot start. And he said he was going to stick with him at least a little while longer. But an 0 for 4 last night. And finally slid down to the 6th spot here for the 3rd game of this series. Duvall at second with 2 away, and Ross's first pitch is cut on and miss.
Brandon Phillips has been a good player for a long time. The Cincinnati Reds tried to move him this offseason, but he's in that position where he is allowed to deny any trade. He did that. You see where he ranks amongst Red second basemen all time. One of the best offensively they have ever seen, and he's still got the glove. That is the one thing he absolutely still has, playing some great defense this year.
One of the trades that he vetoed was here to Washington. It's easy to forget that Daniel Murphy was the 2nd choice to play second base for Washington this year.
And I'm sure National fans probably not reminding themselves of that very often, but things work out, and they certainly have worked out for the Washington Nationals and Daniel Murphy and what he has done here. But you're absolutely right. Their first choice for second base this past offseason was to get Brandon Phillips to hold down that spot for them.
There's the GM Mike Rizzo, the Nationals. On 0-2. Pitch missed badly and was hammered foul.
You see the pitch count now starting to creep up at 23 pitches for Joe Ross. He does not want to get past Brandon Phillips, who start thinking about getting close to that 30 number in the 1st inning. Not ideal at all here. This would be an important out for Joe Ross to try to finish this inning.
24th pitch of this first inning for Joe Ross. To Brandon Phillips. On the ground into center, base hit. Duvall in to score on a 2-out single from Brandon Phillips, and the Reds with a 3 spot in the first.
Brandon Phillips battles in this at bat. We saw him get fooled early on with the slider, and this is actually a pretty well located slider. Or Joe Ross would tell you maybe he wants it a little bit more off the plate next time, but a good adjustment by Brandon Phillips after the swings and misses, and does a good job of keeping that ball in the middle of the field, not trying to do too much with the 2-strike count.
So for Joe Ross, more the same from the month of June when he had an ERA north of 5. Here in his first inning of July. And now the 7th man to bat in the inning, Billy Hamilton. Takes ball 1. Hamilton has shown some good signs for the Reds this season. Finally getting that on base percentage up at least in the neighborhood of 300. Although battling through a mini slump over the last few games. Got into the hands, popped to left center. Jason Worth is there to put an end to this first inning, but the Reds put a 3 spot on Ross in the first. A 2-run double from Adam Duvall. Didn't even know he'd play until about 6:15 local time tonight. And it's 3-0 Cincinnati. Three-0 hole tonight. Here's their starting lineup. Look at Murphy and Ramos in the middle of that order. 1 and 2 in the National League. 352 and 340. And a couple of guys getting rare starts. Robinson and Drew hitting 6th and 7th in Dusty Baker's lineup. Dan Straley making the start for Cincinnati, and at 28 years old on this young staff, that makes him the oldest member of this rotation. His 15th start after he made 3 appearances out of the pen to begin his time in Cincinnati. And misses upstairs with Ben Revere for ball 1. Last night's hero in the 14th inning with a game-winning double. 1-1.
The leadoff spot has been an issue for the Washington Nationals in 2016. Becomes very important to get Ben Revere back to where he was, where they expect him to be. Michael Taylor had an opportunity to fill in center field and in the leadoff spot, but neither guy had been particularly productive.
Australia is moving. How about his scouting report, CJ?
Well, a couple of things to keep an eye on. First of all, he's got what we call a spin rate fastball, sometimes an invisible fastball. You're not going to see great velocity, but he does a pretty good job of getting it by guys. And then quality misses. Guys are going to miss in the zone, but where you miss becomes very important. The walk rate a little bit too high for Dan Straley. Those misses can be a little bit better.
He pops out to Zach Cozart for the first out. He got off to a really good start, and the Reds were starting to get calls on him, and it was looking like they turned a waiver claim pickup into a potential trade chip. But his last 3 starts, an ERA north of 10.
Well, some definite struggles there, and you look at those first 14, you get excited about what you get in Dan Straley, but all of a sudden now a little bit of a rough run and an opportunity here to try to get it turned around against a pretty good team here in the Washington Nationals. It certainly won't be easy. When you're in the middle of a losing season, though, it is so easy to kind of get discouraged by what's going on with the team. And all of a sudden you start to give away a couple of at bats, you start to give away a couple of starts, and for Dan Straley, he needs to stop that right now.
Ball and a strike on Jason Worth, who got off to a slow start this season, but then Dusty Baker moved him from the bottom of the lineup into the 2 spot in mid-May, and he's been a different guy since. Sure doesn't hurt having the protection of Bryce Harper, no matter what kind of season Harper's having, behind you in the order.
He's always a dangerous bat, regardless of, like you said, of the season that he's been having. Teams have been pitching around him more, and that has a lot to do with that monster season that he had last year. But there are people that will benefit from that. Jason Worth is one. Daniel Murphy batting behind him is the other. And so you look at the numbers and you say, well, what's the value of Bryce Harper? It's not just about his numbers. He brings value to the team because what he is producing for both the hitter in front of him and the hitter behind him.
There's Murphy, cleanup man for Dusty Baker. On 1-2. Worth hits a high fly ball to center. Billy Hamilton cruises under it. 2 up and 2 down in this first inning. Part of this Reds defense, it's committed the 2nd most errors in the majors. Only the St. Louis Cardinals have committed more.
The errors are one thing, but I will tell you this. You look up the middle, we talk about up the middle defense and how important it is. Zach Cozart is a very good shortstop. Billy Hamilton is a Gold Glove level center fielder. He's been excellent out there, and I mentioned it earlier about Brandon Phillips. So up the middle, this team is really strong. Fundamentally, they've had some issues with those errors, but I would not change anything as far as from a defensive standpoint what happens in the middle of the field with the Reds.
Bryce Harper, who got off to that red-hot start over the first few weeks, and it looked like was putting together a similar season to last year when he was a unanimous MVP. But he's come down to earth since the end of April, beginning of May.
Well, part of that, I think, had a lot to do with what the Chicago Cubs did in a 4-game series in early May. They pumped the brakes on Bryce Harper and essentially stopped throwing him strikes. And you see what happened before from May 5th, what he did during that time, and then what he did afterwards. There was 13 walks in a 4-game series, and you see the OPS, how often he was hitting home runs. After the fact, I think Joe Maddon did the rest of the league a favor, saying, you know what, you don't have to pitch to Bryce Harper, make the other guys earn it. And I think we saw Bryce Harper lose a little bit of that great patience that he's had in the past.
Pounds it into the ground to Duvall at first, and a 1-2-3 first inning for Dan Straley, who's pitching with a 3-0 lead. Tonight's telecast is sponsored by Arm & Hammer and OxyClean, official partners of Major League Baseball. Joe Davis and C.J. Nitkowski back at Nationals Park, where the Reds lead the Nationals 3-0 as we go to the second. And Joe Ross, after a 26-pitch first inning, sees Tucker Barnhart banging a single into center to start the second.
I like that approach from Barnhart right there. When you have the kind of inning that Joe Ross had in the first, you're coming back and you talk to Mike Maddox and he's telling you, let's go ahead and pound the zone, get him back on track, get first pitch strikes. Tucker Barnhart, a catcher, very well aware of what Joe Ross is trying to do in that very first at bat of the second inning, and he's not going to wait around. Jumps on that first pitch fastball.
And so Dan Straley, who is hitless in his career, is up there to sacrifice. And bunts it to first. That will get the job done. Robinson tags him out, and into scoring position goes Barnhart.
Well, perfectly executed. Joe Ross, not an easy guy by any means to bunt over, to bunt off of, and because that everything moves, as I mentioned earlier. But a good job by Dan Straley getting that job done. You just want to get that ball down, deaden it, preferably down one of the lines, and he does an excellent job of the execution on the sacrifice bunt.
Cozart started the game with a single to center, came in to score on Duvall's double. It was only his second hit in his last 27 at bats. He was putting together an all-star pace last year before he blew out his knee in June and had to have surgery that ended his season. And for a couple of months this year was starting to look like an all-star as well. Has faded some though the last few weeks.
He got off to a great start, and you think about the National League and shortstops, there are so many good ones this year. Probably the cream of the crop is in Los Angeles and Corey Seager, but Trevor Story is having a great year. Addison Russell is in that conversation. Jonathan Villar, a lot of people not talking about in Milwaukee, and Zach Cozart was right in the mix, I think, early on, potentially as an all-star, even though he's playing for the Reds, who were struggling. He has since trailed off a little bit, as you mentioned, but still having a very good year and still always a very good glove man.
That's for the man at second. One gone in the second. And Joe Ross home with a 1-1. Cozart bounces one inside of first and down the line to make it 4-0 Cincinnati. Cozart on his way to second with an RBI double.
Well, you don't always have to hit the ball hard to get an extra base hit, and that's the case here with Zach Cozart. It's what we call a backdoor two-seam fastball. It starts off the plate, and Cozart almost looked a little bit surprised when he hit it and probably thought that was going to be a foul ball off the bat, but once he realizes it's fair, a good hustle double there for Cozart. And you mentioned 4-0 already here in just the top of the second inning.
And Jose Peraza, who was hit by a pitch and scored the Reds' second run, is up there for his second trip in as many innings. We're talking about Zach Cozart, the all-star candidate. What do you think about Zach Cozart, the trade candidate?
Could be. I guess if there is a team that needs a shortstop, obviously it's not going to be an impact bat. You start looking around at the contenders in Major League Baseball. Not a lot of them are in need of a shortstop, but maybe a second baseman or utility infielder. I don't know if there's many teams he would go start for.
Peraza lines out to Robinson at first. 2 gone. Reds in the middle of this rebuild right now, and it's unfortunately for Reds fans showing up in the loss column. On pace to lose a franchise record 104 games. And only once in their long storied history have they lost 100. Back in 1982 they dropped 101 games. Jay Bruce. Cuts and misses, strike one.
And it's been tough, I think, for Reds fans to see some of their better players leave. Aroldis Chapman, Todd Frazier, Johnny Cueto, Jay Bruce most likely to be the next. It's not fun to go through as a fan when your team is rebuilding, but you got to try to look for the positives. A lot of young pitchers right now getting opportunities as the Reds try to get this thing figured out.
Last year 64-98. It was their first last place finish in more than 3 decades. Those 98 losses a season ago, the 3rd most in franchise history, and the most since that 1982 season we mentioned, where they lost a franchise record 101. Bruce struck out his first time. Down 0-2. Takes upstairs.
And they try to elevate a fastball again, the same one that Jay Bruce chased in his first at bat. But going back to what you were saying, the upside of those struggles, high draft picks, some trades that are happening. They did very well in the Johnny Cueto trade. Those are the positives that you have to look for. It's never fun to watch a team like this during the season, but it's a full rebuild, and hopefully they'll see some fruits of their labor.
But 44 players play this year. Part of that is the injury problems, but part of it is they're cycling through guys to see what they have. A major league high 10 debuts this season already by a Red. Tonight trying to snap a 5-game skid. Here's a 2-2, and Bruce fouls it off.
The Reds had the 2nd overall pick in this past draft, and we'll see what happens, of course, and how they finish this year. But it is part of the process when you rebuild, as far as how many players will get used, how many people make their major league debuts. Starting pitchers 12 already, and we're not even to the break. It's been a rough go, but the bullpen has really struggled as well. But when you're going to rebuild, you don't want to do it halfway. You want to be all the way in, and that's where the Cincinnati Reds are right now.
Bruce battling Ross, still 2-2. Yeah, there was a few-week stretch to begin June where the Reds were playing pretty good baseball. They were above 500 for the first 3 weeks of the month, but they've dropped 9 of 10 since, and have the 3rd worst record in the majors as we begin July. Only Atlanta and Minnesota with worse records. Bruce pulls a liner over the shift into right for a base hit, and with Harper's arm they'll hold the runner at 3rd. So a base hit for Bruce, but Cozart throws on the brakes at 3rd, and they're at the corners.
Well, even with 2 outs, this ball was hit so hard that Zach Cozart just did not have a legitimate chance to try and score. You're always going to get a good jump with 2 outs. We see him coming around here. I think he knew right away by the way that that ball was hit that he was not going to have much of an opportunity to score. We did not see him necessarily busting it from second base, but he recognizes the exit velocity on that pitch and realizes he's going to have almost no chance to try to score.
And it was Cozart who up until recently has said that that knee still doesn't feel 100% after the surgery last year. They hold him at 3rd, and they're at the corners with 2 gone. Catch Speak for Yourself, the new daily talk show on FS1. And this Monday's special guest, Deontay Wilder, the heavyweight world champion, going head-to-head with Jason Whitlock before the big WBC title fight. And it's Speak for Yourself, weeknights is 6 Eastern, only on FS1.
Absolutely. Hope you guys will check that out. And afterwards, always, MLB Whip Around follows our weekly highlight show. Myself, Frank Thomas, Dontrell Willis, John Paul Morosi, along with Chris Myers and Kevin Burkhardt. Those 2 shows back-to-back on FS1.
Adam Duvall knocked in a pair with a double in the 1st inning, and bats with runners at 1st and 3rd here in the 2nd.
And you wonder now, hopefully, that Mike Maddox was able to see something, say something here to Joe Ross to try to get him out of this inning. That pitch count now, number 42, coming next through just an inning and 2/3. Mike Maddox has done an excellent job with this pitching staff, and now working really hard here with Joe Ross.
Duvall with a fly ball to shallow left, sending Espinoza back to finish the inning. But the Reds add 1 and a double from Cozart and lead Joe Ross and the Nats 4-0. Sports is sponsored by T-Mobile, bringing you greater coverage of today's game. 3 in the first and 1 in the second for Cincinnati. They lead Washington 4-0. Middle third of the order for the Nationals against Dan Straley here in the second. And it's the National League's leading hitter, Daniel Murphy, at .352. Swinging at the first pitch and lofting one down the right field line for strike one. What a pickup Murphy has been. 3 years, $37 million this offseason. Signed the deal on Christmas Eve after the New York Mets declined to bring him back. There were some people that thought what he did in the postseason was a mirage and didn't think it'd be smart to spend too much on him as a result of it. But he's proven this year that that was the product of hard work and a change in approach and not necessarily just a mirage.
It's a tough bet to make, really, for the New York Mets, who had seen Daniel Murphy his entire career. Right. And you think about, they know him as well as anybody, and then they see a small portion at the end of that run. Well, they believe they know who he was that entire time. But it turns out that Daniel Murphy, what he did a year ago, was for real. More pull power, and a guy all of a sudden now hitting for average, but hitting with a little bit of thump in that bat that the Mets had not seen in the past.
And CJ, in a season where Harper has not necessarily been himself, Ryan Zimmerman has struggled. Ben Revere has gotten off to a slow start. It's been Murphy and it's been Ramos that have carried this offense. Strike one on Wilson Ramos.
And that speaks to the depth of this Washington Nationals club. They are not reliant on 1 or 2 guys. And despite the fact that they haven't gotten production at the top of the lineup, and especially in the leadoff spot, they're still leading their division. A lot of that is also on the backs of the great pitching. But these are 2 huge bats hitting back-to-back in this lineup tonight. And Daniel Murphy and Wilson Ramos, 1 and 2 in batting average in the National League. These guys have been killing it all year.
Only once in the last 60 years have teammates finished 1-2 in the National League batting race. Larry Walker and Todd Helton in 2001. And we're only at the halfway point, but right now those 2 guys are 1 and 2. 5 up and 5 down for Dan Straley as Ramos grounds to Cozart. So far, a nice bounce back for Straley, who gets ready to face Clint Robinson. Straley on Monday against the Cubs gave up season highs, 7 runs on 9 hits, lasted only 3 2/3. It was his 3rd consecutive rough outing. Looking a lot more like the guy that began the season hot for Cincinnati tonight.
And what you got to love, what you see from Dan Straley, is the incredible pace in which he is pitching, not taking a lot of time, not a lot of thought, just grabbing the baseball and going. His fielders absolutely love that. There is no better way to keep your defense in the game than by keeping a quick pace and by throwing strikes, and Dan Straley is doing that right now.
This is 1-1, and Robinson pulls one right into the shift. Nice backhanded play to finish the inning. That was Cozart that had flipped over to the second base side of the bat. Monument here in D.C. on a beautiful night. Temperature in the mid-70s. Fun weekend to be here. Glad you're joining us for Baseball Night in America, where the Reds lead the Nationals 4-0. Lots of patriotic gear.
That's a sweet lid right there.
Now Eugenio Suarez leading off this inning against Joe Ross, who has struggled so far and falls behind Suarez 2-0. Suarez trying to extend a 6-game hitting streak. Had one right over the plate and fouled it back. Strike one.
When you watch Joe Ross struggle, and we've talked about this now, and he continues to have a difficult time finding that release point and being consistent, but he's got the great stuff, and you can see it, and he's always one pitch away from finishing an at-bat. He's got the kind of stuff where he can pitch behind in the count. It's not ideal, but he can get away with it because of the great movement on the fastball.
From an athletic family. His brother is Tyson Ross of the Padres, starting pitcher that spent most of this season on the DL. Had a sister play Division I soccer. Rides inside on Suarez to run it full. Ross made his major league debut in June last year. Brings a payoff to Suarez. Hit to third. Nice play by Stephen Drew.
And that's what I'm talking about. It's a hitter's count. You're going to throw a fastball. You're thinking, I'm just going to throw it down the middle and make Suarez put the ball in play, and he does. But because it's such a great sinker, and that's a nice play by Stephen Drew. Not a lot of time there. The in-between hop, infielders will say, and they'll be taught to try to pick where the hop is going to bounce, either take it long or take it short. But with a ball like that, he did not have a lot of time. Catches it in between, and he's always had the great hands.
Veteran in his first season in Washington, and giving Anthony Rendon the day off today. Brandon Phillips looks at ball one. Here's Rendon.
Jock Jones, the assistant hitting coach, longtime Minnesota Twin there. First year coaching here with the Nationals. Part of those great Minnesota teams when they were really solid in the 2000s with Torrey Hunter, Johan Santana, Joe Mauer.
Ross gets into the hands of Phillips, who checks on Espinosa. I think Jock Jones played for Dusty Baker in Chicago when Baker was the manager of the Cubs.
Tough left-handed hitter, and it's always good to see guys that were good players get back in the game, get back involved, and he's still young enough where he can relate to a lot of these guys. And the offense has been solid this year. Jock Jones doing his part on this Washington National staff, along with Rick Shue, who's the main hitting coach here in Washington.
Billy Hamilton, as Ross tries to work his first 1-2-3 inning of the night. Strike one. Now the Nationals offense, led by Shue and Jones, really come alive over the last month or so. 5.5 runs per game in June put him third in the NL. Hamilton looks at strike two.
It's a good pitch right there. We call that the front door two-seam fastball, righty to a lefty. Starts on the plate inside or maybe even a ball and comes right back and catches the corner. Very difficult pitch for a left-handed hitter to hit.
Hamilton cues it, and the speedster is going to reach. No chance to get Billy Hamilton, who's got an infield single to keep this third inning going.
That's one that you just put in your pocket if you're Stephen Drew. Billy Hamilton will take it. A base hit any way that you can get it. He did not hit very much of this baseball, but you see him get down the line. How about this? We had Pete Rose in the booth with us last week. We were in Cincinnati. He said Billy Hamilton is the fastest baseball player he had ever seen. Period. And you think about the guys that Pete Rose played with and against, and he has been a fan of this game ever since he started his career. Crown Billy Hamilton the fastest to ever play the game in his tenure.
He once stole 155 bases in a 149 game season in the minors. 155 in 149 games.
That is incredible, and it's that speed is the reason why the Cincinnati Reds have been so patient with him. He struggled to prove that he can hit at the big league level. He struggled to keep his on-base percentage over 300, which it really needs to be for that type of hitter. He's an excellent defender. He can run. He's got a good enough arm. It becomes now about, can he just get on base a little bit more and really prove that he's an everyday major leaguer?
With an on-base percentage below 300, he's still third in the National League in steals right now with 19. And you wonder where that total could be if he could, like you said, get on base a little more consistently.
A couple things struggling for him that he struggles with, I should say, is that he hits too many balls in the air, which has been an issue, and he's still not a great bunter. He talked about wanting to become a great bunter, but it's just not there yet. If he can get that skill set down, hit more line drives, not as many fly balls, he's going to be exactly where he needs to be, and he's going to be a guy that can stick in the big leagues for a long time.
You know, last year, and he's gotten this number down, but last year he had a higher fly ball percentage than Nelson Cruz and Albert Pujols.
When you think about power guys that are trying to hit the ball in the air, Billy Hamilton, he's got a little bit of pop, but he should not be hitting the ball in the air as much as those guys.
He's at first with 2 gone, 1 ball and 1 strike on Tucker Barnhart. Singleton scored his first time.
And Billy Hamilton for me also is a guy that I'd almost rather see him hit 9th than see him hit 7th or 8th, because you're in this situation here where, okay, do you want him to go, or if he's hitting in front of the pitcher, but do you want Tucker Barnhart leading off the inning with your pitcher hitting after? It's kind of a tough spot to be in.
There goes Hamilton, and there goes the line drive into center for a base hit. Second one for Barnhart. And showing you the speed of Hamilton, Revere had to fire the ball in a hurry to make sure he didn't think about going home.
It's amazing, isn't it? And I thought the same thing as this ball was hit off the bat, and so was everybody else on that field, knowing that there's an outside chance because he was running that Billy Hamilton actually might try to score on this ball. It's an absurd thought for any other player in Major League Baseball, but it was on the mind of Daniel Murphy as he took his cutoff throw. He knows that he has to think about that, especially with your pitcher coming up to hit.
That is 4 runs on 8 hits against Joe Ross so far. And it's very similar to his last start on Monday against the Mets. He gave up 4 runs on 8 hits over the first 3 innings and then shut down New York. And again, that was after Dusty Baker came out early on in the 4th inning. Gave him a piece of his mind. Shared some confidence with him as well. It was the first time this season Baker had made a visit for something other than to make a pitching change. And Ross responded. So here is Dan Straley. Strike 1. Up to second goes Barnhart.
And you never want to completely relax or take a batter off, but certainly when you're in the National League, facing a pitcher helps in this situation. Facing a pitcher who has never gotten a hit in his Major League career also makes it a little bit easier, at least a little bit better here, building up the confidence of Ross. You just have to make sure you don't let down.
I say that Straley offered, so he's in an 0-2 hole.
How about 2 sliders to the pitcher to start this at bat off? Even though he's a guy, like I mentioned, who has never gotten a hit. For me, if you're believing in it, go ahead and throw it again, because Dan Straley doesn't hit enough and doesn't recognize the spin on that pitch.
He did. 3 straight sliders.
Well, I'll tell you this, from being in that box, I can tell you when you're that bad of a hitter, and I was a bad hitter as well, sometimes you just decide, I'm not swinging here. And you think like a pitcher and thinking, he's probably throwing me a slider here. I'm not swinging at it no matter what.
Four straight sliders. This one catches the outside corner and finishes the 3rd Red Strand affair. When we come back, Max Scherzer joins us live from the Nationals dugout. Down 4-0 to the Reds as we go to the bottom of the third inning. Joe Davis, C.J. Nitkowski, and Max Scherzer kind enough to join us this inning. Max, we appreciate you taking some time for us.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Here's Stephen Drew to lead it off, taking outside, ball one. Hard to find a better place to spend 4th of July weekend. If you weren't at a ballpark, what would be your grill food of choice for Independence Day weekend?
Oh, it's hamburgers and brats. That's all I need. That's
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple and just load it up. I mean, here in D.C., we've got one of the best displays in the country, so it's pretty special here.
Now, are you running that grill or somebody else doing it? Do you have those kind of skills?
Oh, I can do it. Yeah, I can definitely pull that off. You know, it's all about the marinade too. Remember, you got to soak your brats in beer, so it's a nice weekend.
Now, are you a charcoal man or are you a gas man?
You know, obviously you prefer the charcoal, but at the end of the day, it becomes a gas because it's easiest.
Nobody wants to admit it, but at the end of the day, yeah, we all want to use gas. It is a lot easier. I want to ask you about last year. Before we get into your season a little bit, I want to ask you about the work that you did for us on Fox and in the postseason in studio, little Pete Rose and some guys that you got to work with. I think you probably love your day job more, but how much did you enjoy that postseason job last year?
Yeah, that was fun. That was my first experience doing that, and to be able to get on there and talk some baseball in the postseason, it was fun. It was fun to obviously get to meet Pete and obviously Frank and Alex, and I thought we had a great time and we did a good job.
Now, obviously, you have zero interest in doing that this year, with the hopes, of course, that you're playing in the postseason. Would that be correct?
Exactly.
Stephen Drew takes it upstairs and is the first base runner of the game for the Nationals against Dan Straley. So, Max, after a bit of an off night for you at Milwaukee, 7 1/3 in the win against the Mets this week, what was the difference this time around?
Just made a little tweak, and I thought I needed to finish my pitches a little bit better. And Mad Dog and I talked about it, and just made an adjustment. I just thought I attacked the zone better, and I was able to actually land my curveball better. When I can pitch with 4 pitches and really throw them all for strikes, that's when I know I have my most success, and that's what I felt like I was able to accomplish out of the Mets start.
When you're going through a game like that, and you mentioned having 4, and you're one of the few guys that actually has a complete repertoire in the big leagues, how long does it take you to realize that maybe one of those pitches is not there that night?
You know what? I'll never admit that I don't have that pitch, because I always believe, even if I've let's say a changeup's not working that night, that if I've thrown 5 bad changeups, I always believe that 6th one I'm going to execute one. And it doesn't even matter if it's a big situation or not. You have to have that belief that when you're facing whatever hitter and you believe that changeup is the right pitch, that you have to execute it.
Yeah, so you're stubborn like most pitchers are, and believing in your stuff, which obviously is not a bad thing. But it's nice to have that depth of a repertoire where if it's not there, of course, you can go to something else, which is still a plus pitch, as all the pitches in your repertoire are.
Yeah, I mean, whatever pitch you're going to have the most conviction with, and that's what's going out there and having a plan and understanding. Obviously things change within the game and within your start, but when you're in those big situations, you got to throw the pitch that that you believe the most in.
Danny Espinoza at the plate with a man at first and nobody out here in the 3rd inning. Max Scherzer visiting with us. I know it was only June, we're only in early July, but a series like that where you're able to sweep your division rivals, is there a little added importance, a little added intensity down in the clubhouse and dugout in a series like that?
Go.
I'm going to ask you in a second to answer. This ball's hit well back to the wall, and Jay Bruce has room. Out number 1.
Now, what are we talking about, Mets?
Talking about, the Mets.
The Mets, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I know it's only June in that situation, but is there an added intensity, added importance down there?
Yes and no. So, I mean, obviously, we respect the Mets. I mean, they beat us last year, and we want to beat them. And we understand that if we're going to have the season we want to have, we're going to have to beat their teams in their division. So there is that notion that you are a little bit more juiced up. But man, this is the major leagues. You go out here every single night. There's always talent against you, and you always have to bring your A game. It doesn't matter which team you face. That if you don't bring your A game, you're going to get beat.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think a lot of people look at teams that are struggling and just assume that it's going to be a layup, but that's just not the case, as we see even a team like the Reds performing well against you guys tonight, despite the fact that they're not having a great year. What about the younger guys? Lucas Giolito comes up, has made his 1 start. Joe Ross is a guy that has gotten some experience but still young in his career. Do you like spending some time with these guys, sharing some some wisdom with them and kind of watching them closely, giving them some feedback?
Yeah, I mean, these kids are so freaking young now. I mean, I'm so old at 31. I mean, you got 21, 23. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's what's awesome about being here is we got some great young talent. I mean, obviously, you're getting to see what Joe can do. And then, you know, we've got to see Lucas and make his debut. And he really looks like he's got a bright future in front of him. So I think there's even some more kids on the way as well. So, I mean, we got a real nice young nucleus that we can potentially build around.
Ross, pretty darn good hitter, 265 on the year. Takes upstairs, 1 ball, 1 strike.
And at the end of the day, that's what matters the most, Max, right? I mean, amongst the starting pitchers, who is the best offensively? Joe Ross has been pretty good for you guys. What's the competition like? Any side bets going on? What do you guys got going on with the Nats?
He's been talking. He's been talking. And, you know, I like to consider my single hitting approach works very well. But Joe's actually gone out there and really done some damage this year. So he's #1 on the post right now. But we'll see. I won't let him win yet. You know, he's got to do it in the second half.
So what is the number? Is it batting average? Is it slugging? Is it OPS? What makes you the king of the Washington Nationals pitchers when it comes to hitting at the end of the year?
Oh, it's everything. Triple Crown stuff. You know, you know, I got 3 RBIs right now, so you know, of course I'm going to keep rubbing that one in.
Yeah, look, Daniel Murphy was a singles hitter at one point. You could always turn into a guy that hits home runs.
No chance. No chance. I'm a high school hitter. I know it.
So where are you on some of this conversation about some of these pitchers wanting to participate in the home run derby? It sounds like a fun idea for me, maybe a little bit dangerous. How you feel about it? No,
it's not dangerous, and I'll tell you that. I mean, we hit every single day. We're out here, so we swing, I mean, 50, 100, 50 times a day. So if the notion that it's dangerous for them, I don't believe. If they feel like they want to, if they're excited about having the opportunity to do it, I don't see why not. But the notion that they're going to get hurt, I think is overblown in my opinion.
Full count on Ross with a man at first, 1 gone, 3rd inning. And Ross down on strikes. Straley's first punch out of the game. While we're talking All-Star Week, make the case for your catcher, Wilson Ramos, to be an All-Star.
And him and Murphy have literally carried us, in this first half. Willie's come up with so many big RBIs, and obviously what he's been able to do behind the plate, taking a beating as a catcher, yet still hit 340 with all the RBIs and the power. I don't know how Terry Collins can't select him or the players. He's going to be in San Diego. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely, he will be there, and I agree with you. And rarely do we actually see catchers that do it on both sides of the ball. Probably the most important part for you, though, is what he's doing behind the plate defensively. You've been with him, obviously, since you've been in Washington, but maybe tell us a little bit about what he brings to the table behind the plate. We see the numbers offensively, but sometimes it's hard to realize what a guy actually does when he's catching.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that, it seems like every single start we keep getting more and more in sync with each other and knowing, when to throw each pitch. And then, like last start, he was very convicted one time that I needed to throw a curveball, and he kept shaking, but he kept putting it down. And after the game, I told him, hey, I like that. I like it when you have a conviction that I should be throwing a certain pitch because, when the catcher has belief that, the curveball is going to work best, that, hey, I should trust my catcher here. So it's stuff like that that keeps evolving as we keep working together, and that's what I like most about Willie.
Now, what's your limit there? Do you have a limit on how many times, like let's just say he puts a 2 down, you shake him once, he puts it down again, you shake it. Is there a number where you're finally going to get frustrated? I used to tell guys, if I shake you a second time and you put it down a third, I'm throwing it anyway. Do you have a number there where you're going to be like, call him out or put a stop to it?
Well, I'm not going to. If he puts it down again, I'm probably not going to shake again because that means he's right. I'm probably wrong, and he's probably right, and there's a reason why I need to trust my catcher.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Ben Revere. And the game-winning hit last night. So you already have one of your pitchers in Steven Strasburg who had an issue with a weight room accident, putting him on the DL. You turned center field into a deadlifting platform last night after Revere's game-winning hit, huh?
Yeah, so we had a couple walk-off wins where J-Dub walked it off, and he kept running like it felt like to the warning track. So the second time I ran down there and chased him down, like grabbed his leg and tried to hold him from keeping from running around. So I took the same approach at Ben, and forgetting that Ben's only probably 160 pounds, so it's so easy to just throw him up on your shoulder.
Revere smacks one towards right center, and that ball is down.
Go.
Revere with a base hit.
There we go.
He's on his way to third with an RBI triple.
There we go.
Only Billy Hamilton could get close to that ball.
All right, gotta go say high five.
No.
Come here, Derek.
Stephen Drew in to score on the triple from Ben Revere.
We'll see this ball over the middle of the plate, but how about Billy Hamilton even making a run at this ball? There's probably not another center fielder in baseball that believes he has a chance to catch this thing in its full extension. It's a good effort, but he could not get there in time. Jay Bruce has to come over, and it's a big 2-out triple for Ben Revere.
What's that do for your team, Max, if you get Ben Revere hitting at the top?
Oh, watch out. Watch out, because J-Dub's going, Bryce is going, especially when if you get Revere going with his speed, he can create havoc on the bases. Man, it's going to be something fun in the second half.
Now, I know you haven't been broadcasting for very long, and technically you're not in the booth right now, but there is this rule about no cheering when you're in the press box. We're going to give you a pass because you got the uniform on.
I'm done with this press box stuff if that's the rule.
Worth out in front, strike one.
Hey, how about the Chicago Cubs the other day? They used 3 pitchers in the outfield and left field. Now, you've accomplished a lot in your career. Is that one thing maybe you'd like to cross off? Is that a bucket list item? Pitchers love getting out there and pretending that they're big league position players. Is that something Max Scherzer would like to do one time?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that would be pretty cool if I get to play the outfield one day.
I don't
know how it's ever going to happen, but
we'll talk to Dusty, let him know. You never know, right? These long games in the National League, 16, 17, 18 innings is usually when a manager has his back against the wall. I've said the excitement about that and what pitchers get excited about is the possibility of a guy on second base and throwing him out at home plate. What would be most fun for you? Something like that, robbing a home run, running a ball down in the gap. What would be the dream if you were out in the outfield?
Making a diving catch would actually be my dream. But honestly, you got to realize you got to have the negotiation here. If I can't work that angle with Dusty, so I'm gonna have to work for the pinch hit before I work anything with the outfield.
Fair enough. Here's a 2-1 to Worth. Takes it low and away, 3-1. What was your position coming up? Were you a shortstop as a kid?
Actually, as a kid, I was an outfielder.
Were you?
In high school, yeah.
So, Dusty, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, I've let him know I'm an all-state outfielder, but
no big deal.
Yeah, it just doesn't ring.
A 3-2 on Jason Worth. Nationals on the board on the first hit of the game against Dan Straley. A Ben Revere 2-out triple to score Stephen Drew. On 3-2. Worth in the air to right, sending Bruce back with plenty of room. And Max Scherzer, we sure appreciate you taking the time to visit with us.
Thanks for having us on, guys.
4-1 game. Revere with a triple to get the Nationals on the board as we go to the 4th. sponsored by Pepsi. Tell the world how you feel and what you love. Find your Pepsi emoji today. And by Arm & Hammer and OxyClean, official partners of Major League Baseball. Fourth inning, Nationals Park. Zach Cozart rolling one up the middle, testing the range of Espinoza. So first time Cozart's been retired tonight. And Joe Ross tries to do the same thing that he did against New York in his last start, and that is settle in after 3 rotten innings.
Like I mentioned earlier, he has the stuff to absolutely do that. You wonder about the conversations that he's had with Mike Maddox tonight, going back to the one that he had in his last start. A lot of pitches early on for him, but also when you have guys like this that have the great sinker, that have great movement, sometimes a little bit of fatigue works to their advantage. Helps them keep them in the zone a little bit longer. They still have the really good movement, and maybe Joe Ross, if he can find a way to be conservative, can do exactly what he did in that last start.
Jose Peraza scored on Duvall's 2-run double in the first after he was hit by a pitch. Ross only 23 years old. Typically better the first time through the order, although his last 2 starts buck this trend. Is 1-1. Peraza goes the other way with a slider, softly hit to Murphy. So a couple of ground ball outs, 2 away in the 4th. Tuesday on ESPN, it's the Assurance All-Star Selection Show. The lineups for both teams will be announced. And then on July 11th, T-Mobile Home Run Derby. That's on ESPN as well. But it all leads up to the 2016 Major League Baseball All-Star Game on Tuesday, July 12th, 7:30 Eastern from San Diego, only on Fox. And typically when you're a team that has lost as many games as the Reds have, at 29 and 52 coming in, it's hard to get too many guys there. We've got a few candidates, though. You saw Bruce. Cozart has faded lately. Duvall's second in the league in homers. Who's your Reds All-Star?
I'll tell you what, those guys on the outside right there, Jay Bruce and Adam Duvall, for me, probably have the best chance when you think about how strong the shortstop position is for Cozart.
First 1, 2, 3 into the game for Joe Ross. Pretty similar to his last time out, settling in the 4th. This is Joe Davis up here with CJ Nitkowski. We appreciate you taking some time.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we'll get to you in just a minute here. Ramos coming up for the Nationals here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Dan Straley ready to go back to work. He's given up 1 run on 1 hit through 3 and misses high with ball 1. Joined now by Brandon Finnegan. Brandon, we appreciate you taking some time to visit with us, and you're already taking flack from the dugout. We haven't even gotten started.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I think Cody Reed's about to start being Cody Reed.
2-0 on Harper. So, you know, when you think 4th of July and Independence Day weekend, you think baseball, and at least I think barbecue. So if we weren't at the ballpark and you could choose any set of food for your 4th of July, what would it be?
Ooh, man, that's tough. Well, I guess we always cooked ribs where I'm from in Texas, so we'd always go to the lake for 4th of July, do some fireworks, and my parents would cook ribs and steaks. So yeah, I'd have to go with that.
Direct heat over charcoal, or you smoking the ribs, slow cooking them?
That's tough because my uncle now has a smoker, so he smokes all the time. He does the smoker all the time when we cook out, and I like the way the meat tastes off that. But growing up, it was always off of the charcoal.
It's faster that way. You don't have to get up at 4 or 5 a.m. to get him in the smoker.
Exactly.
Now, we were going to make fun of Cody Reed because he's left-handed, but you are also left-handed, so that doesn't really work here. But it's the 3 of you guys that came over from the Kansas City Royals yourself. You mentioned Reed and then John Lamb as well. How much did that make the trade, if at all, easier knowing you were coming with some guys from the same organization?
It did make it easier for sure. To be honest with you, I never met Cody Reed until we got to spring training this year. When I got drafted by the Royals, I went straight to high A, and he was in Lexington, I think it's low A. And right before he came up to high A, I got moved to double A, so I never got to meet him. But I played with John Lamb in triple A for a little bit last year. So definitely the familiar faces kind of helped it a little bit more.
Daniel Murphy, after Harper walks to begin this inning. Strike 1.
And how about the initial reaction? You're really not expecting that so early in your career, right? You get drafted by the Royals. You're in the big leagues by the end of the year, which of course in itself is unusual. But then the Johnny Cueto trade at the deadline last year, and as quick as you got up to the big leagues and in that organization, you're out of it already. That catch you off guard a little bit, and were you surprised to find out you're going to be wearing a different uniform within your 2nd year of pro ball?
Definitely. You know, I was very shocked, but you know, I tried to look at, you know, the reasoning behind it, and, you know, kind of, you know, just the good side. And I think with Kansas City, you know, I wasn't ever going to get a chance to start. I was doing very well out of the pen for them, so, and that's what they needed. You know, they didn't really need starters until, you know, last year. And I mean, they can't just put me in the rotation when I'm in the pen, you know, so it was tough for them. But the bright side is I'm going to start here, and they're treating me great, and I also get to hit. So, you know, once I put all that together, I was pretty happy.
I've got to give you credit. You had a lot better composure on this near double play here than Max Scherzer did when he was visiting with us a minute ago on a fly ball. He got pretty sidetracked, so nice job there. You're taking flack from the dugout. You got a near double play ball on the field, and you stuck right with your point.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to say anything I'm not supposed to say, so I just kind of kept talking, you know.
It was perfect.
Well, you can always root for your team, and you can always react to what you're seeing and what you naturally do in the dugout. That's not an easy thing to do. Whenever we do these interviews, a lot of guys are usually commenting and reacting to something that they see that happens on the field. So don't be shy. Be yourself, just like you're sitting in the dugout on any other day.
All right, that makes it a little bit easier then.
Well, you mentioned the starting part. That's what I was going to ask you next. I mean, that is where your passion is, right? You were an impact guy right away with the Royals out of the bullpen, but based on what you just told us, I'm understanding that your passion would be to start, and you're glad you're getting that opportunity.
Oh, definitely. You know, I started all of college. I loved it. Obviously, college is completely different than pro baseball. You know, every 7 days compared to every 5 days. But I love it. You know, I'm back in a routine. My body feels great. You know, obviously a little bump in the road there the other day, but I feel like I'm at home. Starting is definitely where I want to be.
0-2 on Wilson Ramos with a man at 1st and 1 gone. And he swings over the top of an off speed for strike 3.
And one of the things that your manager, Brian Price, told me last time we did the game on Fox last week, he talked about your competitiveness. And one of his favorite parts of you is what a competitor you are on the mound, no matter what is going on, no matter what's the situation. Is that something and somebody you have always been over the course of your career as an amateur, or is this something that maybe started in college and took over during your pro career?
Oh, that's tough. That started a long time ago. Probably Little League, honestly. You know, growing up, I had an older brother. He's 2 years older than me, so we were always very competitive in everything we did. We always played each other in basketball on my driveway, and it always got real rowdy because we were both just so competitive and we hated losing. And then you know, that transferred to baseball, and you know, my dad was a left-handed pitcher also. So I mean, he just us three together just kind of taught me how to be competitive, and that's what really got me that way.
Brandon, we sure appreciate the time, man. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you very much, guys.
Middle third of the Cincinnati order. Adam Duvall taking strike one from Joe Ross, who needed only 6 pitches to work a 1-2-3 2-minute fourth inning.
We like those, and certainly Rob Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, likes those, as the pace of play is something that has been addressed over the last couple of seasons.
Duvall rips one down the left field line, a base hit. Worth over to cut it off, but not before Duvall goes into second with his second double of the night. Time now for greater coverage of baseball, sponsored by T-Mobile. Indians finally lost today. 14-game winning streak snapped by Toronto. Well, they got that 14th consecutive win in dramatic 19-inning fashion last night.
This team is legitimate, and everything is coming together right now for the Cleveland Indians. The starting rotation was one that was expected to be good. It's been better than expected. Trevor Bauer's done an excellent job, but the offense has been the big surprise, scoring way more runs than even Terry Francona and that front office thought. And they're getting some really good production, and they're doing it without Michael Brantley, which is absolutely amazing to think about. A team like the Cleveland Indians and the limited financial resources that they have, and the fact that they have been so good offensively without one of their biggest stars has been a minor miracle. But it has been a fun time to be a Cleveland fan, period, but certainly a Cleveland Indian fan this year.
Eugenio Suarez with the man at second, nobody out. Waits on this 1-0 from Joe Ross. You know, what was a really jammed up American League Central as recently as a few weeks ago. The Indians entered today with a full 7-game lead over Kansas City. 7.5 over Detroit. 9.5 over the White Sox, who got off to that great start. Jay Bruce is a guy in this Reds lineup that has been rumored to potentially be headed to Cleveland, among other places. 1-2 on Suarez.
And the thing also about those Cleveland Indians is that in the past they've made the moves when they've had to make them, when they felt like the moment was right. The moment certainly feels right here in 2016, and ownership has given them the green light, and I say them meaning the front office, the green light to go ahead and make an acquisition, even if that means taking on a little bit of payroll. So if it's Jay Bruce, if it's Josh Reddick, whoever it may be, that piece in the outfield, probably a piece in the bullpen would be desirable as well, but they have the permission to do it this year.
Suarez fouls it off of Ramos. 1-2 still. Are they your right now American League favorite?
They're there with the Texas Rangers. Now the Rangers are dealing with some injuries in their rotation, but they have been one of the better teams in the American League as well. Yu Darvish, Derek Holland, and Colby Lewis all in the deal. That's a difficult thing to do when you have 3 of your 5 starters on that disabled list. But those are the 2 teams right now that shape up to be the best. But it's that starting pitching with the Indians, and they can do exactly what the New York Mets did a year ago, which is ride that starting pitching, not to even get you in the postseason, but potentially ride you deep in the postseason. They have that kind of ability. That rotation is that good.
Ross with a 2-2, and Suarez hits it on the ground to third. Stephen Drew throws him out, and Suarez has grounded to third all 3 trips up tonight.
And that's a good slider from Joe Ross, and the mistake of Suarez, who's been trying to pull that pitch. He's a guy that's got to use all fields a little bit better. That's been an issue for him. And you mentioned 3 ground outs at third base, trying to pull pitches that are away and rolling over them.
Brandon Phillips 1 for 2. Mike Maddox on that bullpen phone. There is some action down in the Washington pen, with Ross ready to throw his 75th pitch of the night. Catches the inside corner for a strike on Phillips.
And it's Rivero that is down there right now, and you have to get somebody up. You see the pitch count there. And Joe Ross could get out of this inning with just a few pitches, as I mentioned, because of the great sinker, the good movement on the slider, and induce some weak contact. But if he starts to get in trouble, another hit, any more hard contact, you probably do not want to wait too long to get him out of this game.
Popped up. Out goes Murphy. On comes Harper, who will make the play. And 2 gone in the 5th. Follow live baseball with the MLB.com app, Bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with Game Day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. You can download it. It's the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. So Duvall, who started the inning with a double, is still at second. And Billy Hamilton comes up with 2 gone. Hamilton flips one to center. Revere comes on and makes the play to save a run. Won the game with a double last night. Here he keeps the Nationals within 4-1. play Ben Revere made. It's the guy that he robbed, Billy Hamilton. Revere saves a run coming on and making this catch to finish the inning, and then afterwards
a little playful exchange after some center fielder on center fielder crime there. Just to give you an idea of how the game has really changed. You don't see that 20 years ago, but guys a lot more friendly than they have been in the past, and it's a nice moment to see that. Ben Revere knows what Billy Hamilton is going through. They're both going through very similar struggles offensively, but he says, sorry, man, I can't help you out. I need to make that catch for my pitcher.
Stephen Drew has scored the lone run of the game for Washington on a triple from Ben Revere back in the 3rd inning. Reds getting 3 in the first, 1 in the second against Joe Ross, who's fired up 3 straight scoreless frames since. Popped off of the handle. It's Suarez crossing into foul ground for the first out. Danny Espinosa comes up, and it's time for the Just for Men stat. Great looking hair made easy. He's the first national in franchise history with a home run from both sides of the plate in one game. He did it in the opener of this series as part of a huge month of June where he homered 9 times and is putting up the best power numbers since his rookie season when he hit 21 homers back in 2011.
And what's so amazing about what he's doing is that he's doing it in the 8-hole in the National League and demonstrating that power. It's the toughest spot to hit in all of Major League Baseball because you have pitchers behind you, and a lot of times you're not going to get good pitches to hit. There's a fastball that was up and even out of the zone a little bit for Danny Espinosa, but it is not a problem. But just an incredible task as we see here. It's a backdoor breaking ball that he got at the tail end. We saw that one, which makes it all the more amazing. It is so tough to hit in front of the pitcher in Major League Baseball because guys are going to pitch around you a lot, and to see what he has done offensively in that spot has been incredible.
One ball and 2 strikes, and it's even more impressive when you consider the noise that Espinosa's had to deal with from the outside, sliding over to shortstop to replace Ian Desmond this year. And before he even played a game as the everyday shortstop, there were people calling for his job with the top prospect in the organization positionally, and Trey Turner tearing up the minors last year, tearing up the minors to begin this season. And a lot of people thought as soon as June rolled around, Turner would be the guy. But just when it became time, at least when you look at the contract and gaining a full season as far as rights to the player, Espinosa put together his best month. Tonight's telecast is sponsored by the Lincoln Motor Company and the exhilarating new Lincoln MKZ. Espinosa down on strikes. And Joe Ross hits for himself, bouncing the first pitch that he sees to Cozart, and that's a 1-2-3 inning for Dan Straley. We go to the 6th in Washington, D.C., 4-1 Cincinnati. sponsored by T-Mobile, bringing you greater coverage of today's game. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. With CJ Nitkowski, Joe Davis back in Washington, D.C. Reds with 3 in the first, 1 in the second. Nationals getting their lone run in the third. And Joe Ross back to work, cutting one inside for ball 1 to Tucker Barnhart. Now Ross really struggled over those first few innings, but he's retired 7 of the last 8. Needed only 15 pitches to retire the last 6.
And anytime you let up 4 runs in a game, you'll never consider that a success. But if Joe Ross can get through this inning, give his team 6 after the way that this game started, with 3 of the first 4 batters of the game scoring, and you start looking at what he did since then, if he can finish this one out, I think he'll take it as a pretty good outing.
That one hits Barnhart, second batter that he's hit tonight, and the leadoff man on for Cincinnati in the 6th.
It's not every day you see a hit by pitch and the catcher still catch the ball, and so it's barely nicking that right forearm of Barnhart, but nevertheless he is awarded first base.
So Ross has thrown 80 pitches now. Extra important that he gets deep into this game. It's already been important that he was able to recover from the rocky first few innings because of last night's 14-inning game, where the Nationals bullpen threw 7 innings. Australia already won. Successful sacrifice today. Here is another. MLB.TV Premium is the #1 live streaming sports service, delivering everything you've come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. MLB.TV for details. 4th trip through the Reds order. Cozart is 2 for 3.
We showed it earlier in some of the struggles of Joe Ross as he goes through the order first, second, and third time. But this last time through for him, just 1 hit allowed of those 9 batters that he faced. So he's done a really good job third time through the order tonight. 4th time, of course, for any pitcher becomes a huge challenge.
This is 0-1. Rides inside on Cozart. 1 ball, 1 strike.
As you see the numbers there, and that first time through he had dominated second and third, started to struggle, but this has been kind of a awkward outing here, not typical of what we've seen from Joe Ross in the past, where it seems like he's gotten better as he's gotten deeper in this game.
Cozart up the middle. Murphy sprawling to save a run. So Murphy able to keep the ball in the infield, which keeps Barnhart at third, and an infield single for Zach Cozart.
It's so hugely important, and you hear about this a lot as Daniel Murphy actually started going back to his position as that ball was thrown. But you'll hear guys say things like knock down the ground ball, and the reason being, of course, is that if Daniel Murphy does not get to that ball, it goes to the outfield, and that's another run for the Cincinnati Reds. And he prevents that run right now and also keeps the double play in order. And so that opportunity for Joe Ross with the great 2-seam fastball and the sinker to potentially get out of this.
Although he may not have a chance to, as Dusty Baker comes out, and he will make a call to the bullpen. Felipe Rivero ready to come in for the Nationals. Joe Ross able to battle through a night where he didn't have his best stuff. the T-Mobile Home Run Derby on ESPN on July 11th. And then the very next night, don't miss baseball's biggest stars at the 87th All-Star Game, presented by MasterCard on Fox. Felipe Rivero, who turns 25 on Tuesday, has had a rough time this season after a really nice rookie year last year.
Rivero's got a big fastball. It's 95 miles an hour on average. One of the harder throwing fastballs coming out of this Nationals bullpen. Good slider, good curveball as well.
Peraza swings behind a fastball, strike one.
And if you're wondering why Dusty Baker would go to him in this situation, we see lefties come out of the bullpen. We think lefty specialist. You want to play matchups. He's actually been a lot better against right-handed hitters this year. Just a .203 batting average against, while lefties have hit .300 against Rivero this season.
Is 0-1. Yeah, Peraza fouls it off, 0-2. Boy, would a strikeout here be big for Rivero to help out Joe Ross's line. Ross allows at least 4. The runners at first and third, both his responsibility.
Well, you think about when you come into this situation about getting that ground ball and getting the double play, but once you get to a 2-strike count and you're ahead of the count, then you start thinking about that strikeout, and he's gotten ahead without showing a breaking pitch yet. So if he throws one here, it's going to be one out of the zone as he's looking for that swing and miss.
Popped up left center. On comes Revere. He's got it. Tagging from third and holding is Barnhart.
Well, I don't think Barnhart had any real intentions of tagging here, but he gave the good hard fake and made Ben Revere throw this ball. As we see the shallow pop up, Revere's behind it, lets it fly, has that opportunity to show off the arm, and good job by Ramos to go get that ball and catch it in the air, because he knew as well that Tucker Barnhart was not going to try to tag on that. If he plays that hop back, you never know, something happens. It takes a bad hop and goes to the backstop. So good job all the way around defensively.
So it's up to Jay Bruce. He's been a monster with runners in scoring position this year. One of the best in baseball at above 400. Ball one. Bruce 1 for 3 tonight. 2 for 12 in the series. He was as happy as anybody to see that 14-inning game end last night. He was 0 for 6. It was his first 0 for 6 game since 2011. And he went hitless in a game at Turner Field.
Well, this is a good matchup here. We mentioned it earlier about how good Jay Bruce has been against lefties this year. He comes into the season with a .274 batting average against. He's always had the power against them. Rivero struggled against lefties, but you see the game plan so far, which has been fastballs down and away.
Slider that time misses. 2-1.
And Dusty Baker had told us, or excuse me, Brian Price had told us that what Jay Bruce has done so well this year compared to years past against lefties is he's been getting to that ball down and away. That's kind of 101 pitching lefty on lefty, as you want to be able to dominate down and away. Well, Jay Bruce has done a really nice job of counteracting and hitting that pitch the other way.
Digs that one out, sends it in the air to center. Revere's on the move at the warning track, at the wall, makes the play. This has been Ben Revere's week.
Well, you cannot replace good defense, and a great job here by Ben Revere to get to that one.
Great defensive plays tonight. Ending innings and saving runs. Took one away from Billy Hamilton earlier. And here he scales the wall to take away extra bases from Jay Bruce.
Well, that ball had a lot more carry on it than I think a lot of us thought. Jay Bruce put a great swing on it, and you just cannot replace good defense. Ben Revere, a couple of great plays. You mentioned it. We saw the throw earlier, the diving play against Billy Hamilton. He's done an excellent job in center field tonight.
And that bat's getting going as well. He's got the only hit tonight for the Nationals against Straley. It was an RBI triple back in the third. His 9th hit and 4+ games on this homestand. That included a 4-hit game against the Mets on Monday. And the 3-hit game last night, capped off with a walk-off double. Right back to Straley, who's on to first for the first out of the 6th inning. How about Dan Straley's performance in this game as we look at Gatorade Cool under pressure?
Well, it's been great composure, great tempo. You see off speed pitches there. A really nice defensive shift that works in his favor. Everything has been going well. The location has been excellent. We talked about it before the game where he had a little bit of an issue missing in the zone, and batters have been squaring him up lately. He has not been on the greatest run, but tonight mixing and matching extremely well and keeping these Nationals hitters off balance.
Strike one to Jason Worth. He's retired 7 in a row. He's retired Worth both times tonight. He's in his 5th major league season, and with his 5th different organization in the last 2 years. Went from Oakland to the Cubs in that Jeff Samardzija deal, the same one that took Addison Russell to Chicago. Cubs dealt him to the Astros prior to last season for Dexter Fowler. Houston sent him to San Diego after spring training this year, and then the Reds claimed him off waivers a few days later. Down the right field line and into the seat, still 2-2. Go back to 2013, Straley's best season as a rookie. Finished top 5 in Rookie of the Year voting at an ERA below 4 as a full-time starter with the A's. And he blows one by Worth for strike 3 in the 2nd out of the 6.
Well, I mentioned this earlier about the fastball. It is not going to get you excited when you look at the radar gun, but it is that spin rate, and you see him get it above Jason Worth's bat. Chris Young is a good comp, even though he's a lot taller, a guy that we watch in Kansas City. Goes in the upper 80s, but he gets a lot of swings and misses when he is on. It has everything to do with how many revolutions per minute he gets on that fastball. The ball just does not come down as much as your average fastball does, and he's able to sneak that one by Jason Worth.
Now gets Bryce Harper, who's 0 for 1 with a walk today. And Harper uncorks a towering fly ball to right. Jay Bruce under it, and with just enough room to finish this 6th inning. Another 1-2-3 frame for Straley, who's retired 9 in a row. As we go to the late innings, all the runs in this game coming in the early innings. 3 in the first and 1 in the second for Cincinnati. Nationals getting their lone run in the third. Adam Duvall against Felipe Rivero, taking ball 1. Middle third of the Reds order. Suarez and Phillips to follow.
See the change up there from Rivero, one that he uses very infrequently. But when we look at this Nationals bullpen, you mentioned the year he had a year ago, the season he had a year ago, and how good he was. It's one area for sure where this team can improve. You could say that about any contender, but you always have that opportunity to improve within. And if Rivero can get back to where he was a year ago and be a guy that's trusted with leads late in the game, get back to doing a better job against left-handed hitters, Dusty Baker would absolutely welcome that with open arms, because you see the live arm, you see the velocity, you see the breaking pitches. There is a lot there. They just need to get him throwing a little bit better.
Pops the mid at 96 to even the count 2-2.
You just don't see that often. I know we're in an era where we see a lot of hard throwers, but 96 dotted up on the inside corner like that is not something we see very often coming out of the bullpen from a left-hander.
Ramos setting inside for a 2-2, and Rivero missing way outside, and the count is full on Duvall, who's doubled twice tonight, knocked in 2 with his first inning double, and eventually came in to score on a Brandon Phillips single.
Not bad for a day off.
No, yeah. Yeah, he was inserted about an hour before first pitch when Joey Votto was scratched with shoulder soreness. Starting the 7th and working the count full against Rivero.
And you see the hard swing. It is a big swing from Duvall, who is enjoying that career year. One thing that has stuck out to me, which is interesting, he is on pace to hit over 40 home runs this year. His on-base percentage has been sub 300. We have never had a hitter in the history of this game, as long as it's been around, where a batter has hit 40 or more home runs and been under a 300 on-base percentage.
Out on base percentage goes up a touch there with a walk. Rivero just missing. And the leadoff man on for Cincinnati in the 7th. Brings up Eugenio Suarez, where the Reds try to snap this 5-game losing streak. They've dropped 9 of 10. They start the day 23 games out of first. Everybody chasing the Cubs in the Central. Suarez is grounded to third all 3 times tonight. As good as the Cubs have been over the last 2 weeks, only the Reds have a worse record than the Cubs do in the National League.
It's almost hard to believe when you think about how good the Chicago Cubs have been. With this Cincinnati Reds team, we know they are struggling right now. It is all about rebuilding. It's all about seeing what you have. A lot of auditions happening right now for a lot of these young pitchers and the players that they are using, and people wondering how quickly can they get this thing turned around. Every fan wants to know that when you're going through this. Well, some money will be freed up here pretty soon. Most likely Jay Bruce is going to get traded. Brandon Phillips only has a year left on his contract. They believe they'll have Homer Bailey back, which will be a big part of that rotation, and then the ability to spend some money to go along with the draft picks that they're going to have over these couple of years. And so maybe it's a 2018 time frame for this club to be able to contend again.
Mentioned Homer Bailey started his 2nd attempt at rehabbing this week. Had a setback earlier this season when he first attempted to come back from last year's Tommy John. Duvall at first after the leadoff walk, and a 1-1 to Eugenio Suarez. Little bloop shot to short right that Murphy runs under. Brandon Phillips coming up 1 for 3 tonight on a night where he's been mic'd up.
Buffalo, what's up, baby? Hey, you mic'd up today? I'm mic'd up. How you doing? I like to talk a little bit. Wow, what a hustle. Wow. I didn't know you had it in you.
Awesome stuff.
Still one of the great personalities of the game. Quite possibly the best smile in the game. We believe we have one of the best at FS1 with Frank Thomas. He's got that $1 million smile, but Brandon Phillips has it as well and just has a ton of fun playing this game.
Shoots one to right. Harper going back on it, makes the play. Back to first goes Duvall. Now Phillips turned 35 on Tuesday this week. Got off to such a good start this year. Was helping offset Joey Votto's slow start. They've kind of gone in opposite directions as Votto's improved as the months have gone on. Phillips' numbers have gone down.
He struggled a little bit. You know, this offseason they tried to trade him here to the Washington Nationals, and he turned that trade down. And I will tell you this, a lot of people criticize Brandon Phillips for that. I didn't see it that way. Give him some credit for wanting to stay where he signed up to play, wanting to stay in the community with his family. He's locked in there in Cincinnati, and for me, some unfair criticism. I look at it the other way. This is a guy who wanted to be a part of this team despite the fact that they were a club that was not going to contend or compete. And some people being hard on Brandon Phillips, but for me that's completely undeserved. He was within his rights to turn down that trade and saying, I signed to play in Cincinnati, my family's in Cincinnati, I have roots here and I want to stay.
Veto to trade to Arizona as well. Arizona wind up getting Gene Segura from Milwaukee, plugging him at second. Billy Hamilton takes ball one. And Segura's had a nice season for the Diamondbacks.
Done a very nice job in helping fill in there at the top of the lineup when they lost A.J. Pollock. Was a big loss for the Arizona Diamondbacks this year, and he's kind of turned his career around now. Gene Segura has, getting back to where he was a couple of years ago, and he's done a really nice job for that club.
Runner takes off on a fastball that's up. Throw down is on the money, and Wilson Ramos throws out Duvall to finish the inning. It is stretch time in D.C. Nationals trying to get the bats going. Down 4-1. Just one hit tonight. To plate the only run. The doctor ordered for the Reds tonight after a 14-inning game. Straley pitching into the bottom of the 7th inning. He's given up just one run on just one hit and faces the middle third of the order, Daniel Murphy, looking at ball one. This has looked a little more like Dan Straley from the first couple of months of this season and much less like the guy who had an ERA above 10 his last 3 times out.
You know, one of the things about Daniel Murphy that has really changed about him, we talked about the power. but it has been interesting to watch how much he is pulling the baseball. You talk about Straily and what he has done, but how about Daniel Murphy and what is going on with him? He has always been a slap hitter, and we talked about it with Max Scherzer, a guy that would hit a lot of line drives to left field, but he has turned into a guy ever since that postseason run who is not afraid to turn and burn on the ball and pull it. Not like that. That's not what he's been doing all year. Some guys just don't cooperate when you're trying to make a point. So I appreciate you, Daniel Murphy. But here's what I was talking about a little bit, looking at the breakdown of what he has done over the course of his career. Look how those hits have been spread out and how a majority of them have been to left field and to center field. Well, now 17% of those hits, which is a huge jump this year compared to what he has done over the course of his career. And you can teach an old dog new tricks. And I think Daniel Murphy fell in love with some of those home runs last year and just started pulling the ball without giving up batting average. And that's been the big part for him.
Now those 7 postseason home runs on deep off Arrieta and Lester of the Cubs, on deep off of Greinke and Kershaw of the Dodgers around before. Ramos goes after the first pitch and floats it to right. Bruce and Phillips. It's Bruce for out number 2. Tonight's telecast is sponsored by Cialis and by Domino's. Order online and track your order. So Dan Straily has retired 11 in a row now since he walked Bryce Harper to start the 4th. Clint Robinson making a rare start today in place of Ryan Zimmerman is 0 for 2. Takes ball 1.
Well, you mentioned it before I started talking about Murphy and really what Dan Straily has done tonight, how important that has been for the Cincinnati Reds staff. They have struggled in that bullpen. The bullpen has been somewhat of a historic disaster this year. That ERA is up near 6 and has been at times over 6, which is something we had not seen in a long time, since 1950. But anytime you get your starters deep in the game, that means your relievers don't have to pitch.
7 innings from Dan Straily, and he's only thrown 87 pitches. That's his 4th inning tonight with 10 pitches or less. Sponsored by Budweiser. Duvall with a 2-run double in that 3-run first inning for the Reds. Dan Straley, 7 innings of one-hit baseball. The lone run coming off of the lone hit, a triple from Ben Revere to score Stephen Drew back in the 3rd. Felipe Rivero's 3rd inning of work, starting with Billy Hamilton, who was at the plate when the last inning ended, with Adam Duvall getting caught stealing. There's Straley, who was due up 3rd in this inning, and having only thrown about 80 pitches, will bat for himself.
And there it is, that good fastball from Rivera, locking up the righties, using it very well inside. Billy Hamilton unable to catch up to that, and there's not too many righties that can. When you can elevate the fastball under the hands with that kind of velocity, it's very difficult to get to it. Rivera was one of just 2 relievers in that Washington Nationals bullpen not to pitch in that game last night. So far, he's done his team a great service by the innings that he's eating up so far.
Is 2-2. Hamilton fends it off. 95-mile-per-hour fastball that was over the outer edge, and Hamilton fouled it. Billy Hamilton, 1 for 3 today. And 1 for 9 in this series. The lone hit, a single back in the 3rd. It's one of 10 Cincinnati hits tonight. Fly ball to center for Ben Revere. Baseball's 2 biggest summer events are back-to-back. The T-Mobile Home Run Derby on ESPN is in July 11th at 8 Eastern. Then the very next night, baseball's biggest stars at the 87th All-Star Game from MasterCard, all on Fox. Tucker Barnhart has reached all 3 times out of the 8th spot tonight with a pair of singles and was hit by a pitch. Strike 1. He's turning into the starting catcher with Devin Mesoraco shelved for the 2nd year in a row. Hip problems last year. Shoulder problem this year. So while this organization is already rebuilding, already shipping out pieces that they can turn into prospects, they're also dealing with some key injuries. They've gotten guys back, but Mesoraco a key piece who they're going to be without this year.
No doubt about it, and that's a huge piece you have when you think about trying to bring along a lot of young pitchers. You'd like to have your veteran catcher working with these guys, and we can still do it. As we see Barnhart get finished off with that 97-mile-an-hour fastball, he can still do it, even though he's not on the field talking with guys and working with guys.
Well, CJ, we're just talking about the All-Star Game being about a week away on Fox. One of the most famous moments in All-Star Game history happened back in 1970 when Pete Rose barreled over Ray Fosse in a play at the plate in Cincinnati. National League won that game 5-4 in 12 innings. You had a chance to talk to Pete Rose about that play.
It was interesting. He was in the booth with us last week when we were there, and he mentioned how his plan in that play, if you watch it, was to head first slide into first base. But because Ray Fosse was blocking home plate, he could no longer do that. And he wasn't making it up. You watch that replay and you can see that he was starting to do that head first slide. The shoulders dropped. He realized he couldn't. And so he came back up and the collision at the plate happened. And the rules have changed since then, and we'll never see anything like that again, or at least we should not. But it was an unfortunate incident, but Pete did nothing wrong. A lot of people like to bury him for that one. But watch him. You see him start to stumble because he's thinking about the head first slide, but you're not going to head first slide into a catcher who's blocking the plate, and so he had to barrel him over. And it was an unfortunate incident for Ray Fosse, who was never quite the same afterwards.
2-2 on Dan Straley. You were there last week when Pete Rose's number was retired in Cincinnati.
Went into the Reds Hall of Fame. It was a great moment. He gave a great speech. He had said that it was the greatest moment of his life.
Wow. Well, Rivero strikes out Barnhart and Straley. Nice relief work by him, sending us to the bottom of the 8th. This telecast is sponsored by Budweiser. This Bud's for you. And by Falcon Tires, the official tire of Major League Baseball. 4-1. Reds in front of the Nationals, trying to snap their 5-game losing streak, trying to end the Nationals' 6-game winning streak. And doing it behind Dan Straley, who's pitched 7 innings of one-hit baseball. The lone run scoring on Ben Revere's triple back in the 3rd.
When you think about, had he not allowed that hit, his teammates wouldn't be talking to him right now. He'd be sitting on the bench in silence, but he gets to be social now because he did allow that one hit. But this has been a lot of fun to watch. You see the 12 consecutive batters that he has retired, but in the day and age where we are all about the velocity and the power arms that we see, Dan Straley is exactly opposite of that. He is out there pitching, working corners, mixing speeds. I mentioned it earlier, and doing an excellent job of keeping this Washington Nationals lineup off balance.
Blake Wood warming in the Cincinnati bullpen. And Straley, though, has only thrown 92 pitches. He's crossed 100 many times this season. But he walks Drew to begin this 8th. And again, like you mentioned earlier, CJ, that bullpen for Cincinnati historically bad this season. So you'll ride Straley as long as you can with what normally would be a fairly comfortable lead. Not with this bullpen.
No, and not in this ballpark with this lineup, because there is some power there. Now we're at the bottom of the order, and so Dan Straley will try to get through this. But Brian Price is very well aware of the fact that Dan Straley has never thrown more than 7 1/3 inning in any start. 7 innings has been his high this year, and his career high, which happened this year as far as pitch count goes, has been 112. And so they want to win this game. They're not going to let it even get close. They'll give him an opportunity, another hitter or two, probably the max here for Dan Straley.
Danny Espinosa is 0 for 2 today. One of 4 strikeout victims for Straley this evening, but he also flied to the wall and right. 15 home runs. That's more than anybody else out of the 8th spot this year. Could bring the Nats to within 1 with 1 swing. Ball 1. And Barnhart goes out to have a word with Straley and to buy some time for that bullpen.
Well, he's going to try to get Dan Straley back in the zone, reminding him of all the things that he has done well so far tonight. And what he doesn't want him to do as he gets behind in the count is to try to overthrow and put a little extra something on his pitches. That is not something you want a guy who pitches the way that Dan Straley pitches to do. He is a plus and minus guy, meaning that he can subtract off his pitches. He can add on to them just a little bit. You never want him overthrowing and trying to hump up and blow a fastball by a hitter. And I think what Tucker Barnhart saw right there was a fastball that was overthrown, even though the velocity was not particularly high, and he just wants to make sure he doesn't make that mistake trying to do too much.
After Espinosa, it looks like it will be Anthony Rendon with the pitcher's spot due next. And remember, Dusty Baker has Ryan Zimmerman at his disposal still as well. "4-1 Reds in the 8th. Drew at first after the leadoff walk, and a 1-0 to Espinosa. Swing and a miss, 1-1.
And that's what I talk about with the plus and minus. There's a changeup there at 81 miles an hour and a 1-0 count, and you see the swing that Espinosa had right there trying to hit that ball into the bullpen, but because it's only 81 and the arm speed is good, he gets Espinosa way out front.
Two and 1. You saw a moment ago Espinosa's month of June, pretty remarkable, especially when you're considering a shortstop, an 8-hitter. Those 9 home runs helped him place 4th in the National League in slugging, behind names you more associate with slugging like Moss and Myers and Rizzo. Espinosa with a high fly ball to right field. Back on it goes Bruce. He's at the wall, and that ball is gone. Espinosa's done it again. The Nationals are right back in this game.
Danny Espinosa, you talked about what he has done as of late, but this at bat in particular, puts himself in a good count at 2-1. He had swung through the changeup, but this was a fastball that ended up being right out over the plate at just 88 miles an hour, and location becomes so important. Look at the glove down and away. Look where the glove ends up over the middle of the plate. And Dan Strelli looking like maybe he's running out a little bit of gas here. He has been good tonight, but 88 miles an hour over the heart of the plate in the 8th inning is not something he is going to get by Danny Espinosa.
Bryan Price makes his signal to the bullpen, and what was an otherwise really nice night for Dan Strelli ends on a sour note. 1-run game. Chases Dan Strelli from the game with a 2-run homer that makes it 4-3. 2 of those 3 walks Strelli issued came around to score. Gave up the run in the 3rd and the triple from Revere, and then the 2 here in the 8th. Then Blake Wood comes out of that historically bad bullpen to replace him.
And here's his opportunity now, at least the clean inning, nobody on, nobody out. So he gets an opportunity here, at least without his back against the wall, and try to hold on to this 1-run lead, which is not going to be easy going through Anthony Rendon, and then of course this lineup flipping over right back at the top with Ben Revere.
Yeah, it's Rendon hitting in the pitcher's spot, getting a night off at least as far as the starting lineup goes. Dusty Baker has him, and he has Ryan Zimmerman to bring off his bench, trying to come from behind. 2-0. A .590 ERA for the Reds is the highest out of the bullpen in the National League since the 1938 Phillies.
It's been a frustrating year. There's no 2 ways to split it up. There's no way to get around it when you think about what this bullpen has done. It's been a bad year for this club, but especially bad for the bullpen. And when you're losing, every team will tell you this, every player, losing late is the most deflating. When you're going through a season like the Cincinnati Reds are going through, leads that they have had that they have not been able to hold, and here they are in that situation right now, and Blake Wood is going to try to do his part to make sure that does not happen again.
He walks Rendon on 4 pitches. And now to the top of this Nationals lineup. So they've got a .590 earned run average out of the bullpen. The next worst in baseball is Colorado's .503.
It's unbelievable. I mean, you're talking about almost a full point. And like I mentioned, it's been ugly, and there's not a lot that the Reds can do. They have shuffled a lot of guys in and out of that bullpen, trying to find the right combination to make this thing work. It has been very difficult for Bryan Price to push those buttons, the right ones, and put guys in the best position to succeed to kind of end this thing.
Rendon takes off, and he's into second without a throw. And so the tying run in scoring position with nobody out in the 8th.
Well, this is 100% on Blake Wood. You see the high leg kick right there. Tucker Barnhart has done a good job this year of throwing out base runners at a 38% clip, but he doesn't even get an opportunity because of the jump by Anthony Rendon.
So let's see if Revere swings away or lays it down. He does lay it down. This will be a tough play. Barnhart gets him, but the tying run moves to third with one away.
It was a good bunt, but even a better job by Tucker Barnhart taking control of the situation, not allowing Blake Wood to field this ball. Watch the bunt down and watch Barnhart right away. Glove up, making sure there's going to be no collision, because that's one of those tweener bunts where we've seen pitchers and catchers struggle with communication, but he takes control of that situation, makes an excellent throw.
And so Jason Worth with the infield in. A tying run at third, one away in the 8th inning, has a chance to bring the Nationals all the way back from down 4-0. They got one in the 3rd. They got 2 here in the 8th on Espinosa's homer. Rendon walked, stole second, advanced to 3rd in the sacrifice. Ball 1. Worth in his 14th major league season. Waits on this 1-0. 2 balls and no strikes.
Blake Wood not helping himself out at all right here, putting himself in these hitters' counts. Saw the 4-pitch walk to start off the inning, and now falling behind Jason Worth 2-0. And yeah, Jason Worth hasn't had maybe his greatest season, but he has been better as of late, and he can still hit a mistake pitch ahead in the count.
Takes a strike, 2-1, with Bryce Harper due next. All Dan Straley can do is watch. Came into this inning having allowed 1 run on just 1 hit. Chased by Espinosa's 2-run homer. And now the Nationals 90 feet away from granting Straley a no decision. 3-1 to Worth. Bottom of the zone, strike 2.
I believe that one is a strike. Jason Worth doing a good job of making people in this ballpark believe that pitch was a ball, but what really happened for me is that he got fooled by a 3-1 slider, and he was expecting a fastball, saw the break late, and assumed that ball was going to be below the zone. And you still have to be very careful here, but now in the head of Jason Worth, after throwing a 3-1 slider, assuming, and he's got to be throwing another one here.
Takes this one for ball 4. So Wood comes on, walks Rendon. Revere sacrifices. He walks Worth. And out comes pitching coach Mark Riggins.
We have a decision to make here. He has 2 very tough lefties up right now. The reigning MVP in Bryce Harper. Daniel Murphy, who is having the career year, who has already tied a career high in home runs. Now the Cincinnati Reds, we know about their season and where it is. This is a moment for Blake Wood. This is an opportunity for him. He's 30 years old and thinking about trying to put together a good season, trying to cement a place in this bullpen for next year. It's not a bad idea to go ahead and let him go after Bryce Harper and see what he has. Yeah, he's the reigning MVP, and we look at Bryce Harper and saying it's probably advantage Harper in this situation, but if I'm running this ball club, I want to see what Blake Wood has, and I want to see him go after Bryce Harper and see what he can do, because if you make the right pitch and get that ground ball, you can get yourself out of this inning.
Harper to bat with man at the corners and 1 gone in the 8th inning. Nationals trailed this game 4-0. Back to within 4-3. Base hit to left, and this game is tied at 4. Bryce Harper scores Rendon with an RBI single. And Straley has to settle for a no decision.
It's a tough break for Straley, but for Blake Wood, he makes that decision to go after Bryce Harper, and he pays the price. That the middle infielders are pinched up the middle in that situation. And so what looked like would be maybe a routine ground ball turns into a base hit because of where Zach Cozart is playing with Jason Worth on first base.
And far from out of the woods, if you're Blake Wood, now it's Murphy, National League's leading hitter. At .352 coming into the game. He's 0 for 3 tonight. Dropping that average all the way down to .349.
And he's been excellent with runners in scoring position, and he has one there right now at second base. Jason Worth .338 this year. Daniel Murphy just having a monster season all the way around.
That one reaches the seats. Woods ahead of him 0-2. 14 home runs, 55 knocked in his first season here in Washington. Signed a 3-year deal after spending the first chunk of his career in New York with the Mets. As Worth at second, Harper at first, and one away in the 8th. Nationals trying to rally for their 7th consecutive win. On 1-2.
And that's a dangerous pitch right there. It's a fastball that's inside. It's a two-seamer with good movement. You see it at 96 miles an hour, but there is not a lot of margin for error when you're throwing that pitch, especially to the left-handed pitcher. That ball comes back out over the plate. It becomes very hittable for Daniel Murphy.
Wood to Murphy with a 2-2, and Murphy fouls it back. We'll do it again. Espinosa with a 2-run homer after Stephen Drew walked to start this inning. Wood then came on, walked Rendon, who was sacrificed up to third after stealing second. Worth walked, Harper singled. 2 on with 1 out, and another 2-2 coming. Full count.
Blake Wood continuing to struggle executing pitches when he needs to. This is not the count that you want to put yourself in. That 2-2 count is when you want to try to finish that at bat. And now with the full count here, he does not want to walk Daniel Murphy. You have to go at him, despite the fact that he's having the great season and is the leading hitter in the National League.
Strike 3 over the inside corner. Blake Wood tails one in there to get the league's leading hitter. 2 gone.
Credit Blake Wood for making a big pitch in a huge situation. It's a two-seam fastball. Look at the movement on that. And you may look at it and say, well, it finishes over the middle of the plate. Well, better than halfway there. That ball is inside or maybe in off the plate. That is late, great movement. We saw him try to throw that pitch a couple of times throughout the at-bat. That was the first one that he executed.
And so it's up to Ramos, who's number 2 in the National League with his batting average. Runners take off and will advance without a throw from Barnhart.
And the timing on that is unbelievable, to think that the Nationals could put the go-ahead run at third base with 2 outs, and that just tells you where Blake Wood is right now mentally, so locked in, not paying attention to these runners at all, giving Tucker Barnhart absolutely no opportunity to throw anyone out.
Puts more pressure on Barnhart as well. Pass ball could put Washington in front, put him within 3 outs of winning this game. It is something to go from Bryce Harper and then have to worry maybe even more with the next two hitters, with Murphy and then Ramos. Woods 2-0.
And that's not a bad idea at all right there. It's a 2-0 slider that's off the plate. Not that you want to load the bases and put yourself in that situation where you could walk the potential go-ahead run in, but you have an open base at first base. You have Clint Robinson on deck. You have Ryan Zimmerman on the bench potentially who could pinch hit, but you certainly don't want to give in here to Wilson Ramos. 3-0 slider. I think that tells you everything that you need to know about how they're approaching this at bat right now with the open base.
Cincinnati led 4-1 coming into this inning. Australia had given up just one hit. Nationals getting 3 runs on 2 hits in this inning. 3-1. Ramos swings and misses, 3-2.
This is tempting here, and you think about inside the game and pitch selection and what do you want to do. We saw a 3-0 slider, we saw a 3-1 slider. Now you're thinking maybe I do have a chance to get him out, and do I get in his head a little bit and try to throw the fastball because he could be sitting on the slider. This is a difficult decision here for Blake Wood and for Tucker Barnhart, but they still should stick to the game plan, which is not give in to Wilson Ramos.
Another slider, and he takes it for ball 4. And that loads the bases. Out comes Brian Price. So back into the bullpen he goes. Locked at 4 with the bases juice. Tuesday on an ESPN, or actually this week it's the All-Star Selection shows, and then in a couple of weeks you got the Home Run Derby on ESPN, all leading up to the 2016 Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Tuesday, July 12th, 7:30 Eastern from San Diego, and it's only on Fox. So Josh Smith tossed into the fire. Bases loaded for the Nationals in a 4-4 game in the 8th, and Clinton Robinson to bat against him with 2 away. 13th appearance for Smith, who's in his 2nd Major League season. Worth at 3rd, Harper at 2nd, Ramos at 1st. Right down the pipe, strike one.
And this is a no-brainer here for Dusty Baker, and thinking about leaving the lefty in there. Lefty's hitting .323 against Smith. Righty's just .186. If we're thinking Ryan Zimmerman the better hitter, Dusty Baker here is going to play the odds.
Robinson pops it up. Bruce comes on. Cozart goes out and makes the play. Nationals lead them loaded, but they score 3 times and tie it at 4. Espinosa with a home run. Harper with the opposite field single. We go to the 9th. With a 3 spot in the 8th, tied at 4 as we go to the 9th. Blake Treinen comes in, second night in a row he's pitched, but only threw 12 pitches in a scoreless inning of work last night. He's had a really good season and on to face the top of the Reds order.
Blake Treinen is nasty. The sinker you're going to see right here, that'll be in the mid-90s, has incredible movement on it. Very difficult to square up, and he's been good in big situations, and that's why he's here right now in this tie game late.
Been a nice day for Zach Cozart, who's broken out of his 1-for-26 slump with a 3-for-4. Strike one at 97. Peraza and Bruce to follow here in the 9th inning for the Reds. Reds led this game 4-0 after 2 innings. They got 3 in the first and 1 in the second, but that lead's gone. Cozart on the ground to third, and an in-between bounce. Drew throws him out. Grip the Moment is sponsored by Falcon Tires, official tire of Major League Baseball, and a couple of great defensive plays tonight. CJ from Ben Revere.
He's been fun to watch in the outfield and contributing in a big way, and we've talked about his offense and some of the struggles this year. He does have that triple, but at the leadoff spot has not been everything exactly the Washington Nationals have wanted, but he gets it done with the glove, and that doesn't always show up in the box score, but he's been a huge part of this game, and the fact that this game's tied 4-4 in the 9th.
Peraza with a bouncer that Espinosa sizes up, and a couple of ground ball outs to begin this 9th inning for Treinen.
And when we talk about sinkers, a lot of times you'll hear hitters and pitchers refer to them looking and feeling like a bowling ball. That is exactly what Blake Treinen has. It's a heavy sinker, another one that we have seen tonight that comes in with Really good velocity, but unbelievable movement as well.
Dusty Baker bringing that lineup card out to Eric Cooper. And pointing down into the bullpen, looks like another pitching change.
And that means double switch if he's going to the umpire first. And so somebody is going to be coming out of the lineup on the offensive side. Clint Robinson made that last out, so it could be him. We might see Ryan Zimmerman enter this game.
Ryan Zimmerman comes in, replacing Clint Robinson at first. He'll hit third in the bottom of the 9th inning. And Sammy Solis comes in to pitch.
You look at those numbers right there, tremendous ERA, but what is more impressive, just 14 hits allowed in 28 innings. The splits are really solid, regardless lefties or righties. He has dominated both this year.
Gets a lefty in Jay Bruce and misses inside, ball 1. Solis, second round pick of the Nationals, 2010 out of San Diego. Of course, their most notable baseball alum, Chris Bryant. The 2-0. Misses away. 3 balls and no strikes on Jay Bruce.
And that's been probably the only knock on Solis this year. You see him cutting that fastball. 12 walks. 2 of them have been intentional, but 12 walks in those 28 innings.
And he walks him on 4 pitches. And that brings up Adam Duvall, who is number 2 in the National League in home runs this year. He mentioned Chris Bryant. He's the only guy that has homered more than this guy.
Well, not what Dusty Baker had in mind, and just the second walk to a lefty allowed this year. He has his hands full now. We've seen Adam Duvall taking some pretty strong swings. We saw the couple of doubles that he has hit today, but very aggressive early in the count.
Now that's 5 consecutive balls for Solis to begin his outing.
You almost wonder, and it's easy to say now because we've seen the 5 balls, but about the pitching change right there. Trinan has the kind of stuff that plays both ways, and we see him get 2 outs in 3 pitches, and the sinker just looked dominating. And I don't doubt that he could get his righties out as good as he can get his lefties, but obviously for Dusty Baker, feeling pretty strong about wanting to make that change.
And Solis threw 2 innings last night in the 14-inning game. Here's his 1-0. And Duvall fouls it back. Strike one. Two-run double in the first inning, doubled in the 5th, walked in the 7th. The Reds have 10 hits tonight, but they don't have one since the 6th. Duvall cracks it on the ground is short. Espinosa the short way. And we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. Bottom third of the order due up. Drew, Espinosa, Zimmerman in a tie game. Star game in recent years. Mariano Rivera in 13, Jeter in 14. David Ortiz this time around. The 40-year-old by many measures has been the best hitter in baseball this year. Although he continues to say this will be it for him. So make sure you tune into the All-Star game 2 Tuesdays from now in San Diego on Fox.
How amazing has that season been by David Ortiz? He says everything is hurting, but it's not showing at all in his performance.
So here we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. Josh Smith stays in the game to face the bottom third of the order, but it's not your typical bottom third. After Drew, who's walked twice and scored twice, it's Espinosa, who's hit his 16th home run of the season tonight, and then Ryan Zimmerman. Ball one on Stephen Drew. Josh Smith's last time out was in the first game in this series. He gave up 5 runs in 1 2/3. And he's behind Drew 2-0. Different night, same story for the Reds with problems in the bullpen. Fly ball to right center field. Billy Hamilton under it for out number 1. Final game of this series is tomorrow on Fox Sports Ohio. They'll have a series finale. Nationals, as of pregame, hadn't announced if it would be Stephen Strasburg to return off of the disabled list tomorrow or Lucas Giolito. They said it may be a game time decision,
which is pretty difficult to put a young starter through. Lucas Giolito made his debut earlier this week, and he did it with an hour rain delay and then only got to pitch 4 innings because of the rain that came. So that would be kind of a challenge for him if he doesn't find out until about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning that he's the starter for the Nationals.
Espinosa perfectly placed strike one from Smith. John Lamb will take the ball for the Reds tomorrow. Will they be playing for a series split or to avoid a sweep? Last time up for Espinoza was last inning, and he crushed a 2-run homer. His 16th of the season, which is already 5 short of his career high for a season.
It's been a great season for Danny Espinoza. You mentioned the move to shortstop, getting that opportunity to play every day in the same position, but the offense has been just incredible this year.
Trey Turner, the highly touted shortstop prospect, has started to play some center down in AAA because at this point he really is blocked by the way Espinoza is performing at short.
And that's about the only spot they could put him this year. And we've seen the defense that Ben Revere has showed, and that's not really a spot that is necessarily open at the big league level.
Espinoza bunts it in the air and out of play. It's 1-2. What do you think?
It was the second time he showed bunt in trying to catch the Cincinnati Reds off guard, but I don't like the idea of him passing the buck. Not the way that he has been swinging the bat. I didn't mind that he thought about it at least once and trying to get a base runner. But if there are no outs, I might buy into it a little bit more. But the way that this guy has swung, the power that he has shown, I think I'd rather see him swinging away.
In a game where the Nationals trailed 4-0 after 2, they've got a chance to win it in the bottom of the 9th. Smith's 1-2 to Espinoza. Over the inside corner for strike 3.
Well, you think about Danny Espinoza not getting an opportunity to swing the bat because of the bunt attempts. And that's that front door 2-seam fastball I mentioned earlier. It's a ball most of the way, starts on the inside corner, and it's good execution. There's small margin for error, like I mentioned, but we've seen it now a couple of times where some of these Reds relievers have been able to execute that in a big spot.
It's Daniel Murphy that he got on that pitch last inning. Ryan Zimmerman came into the game in the top of this inning in a double switch. With 2 gone in the 9th, Zimmerman takes ball 1. It has been the worst year of his long Nationals career. Entered the year a .283 hitter for his career, and you see the numbers there, just .223 this season. 2-0.
And even though Ryan Zimmerman entered the game on defense a year ago, this is essentially a pinch hit at bat. His first at bat of the night coming here in the 9th inning, and all good pinch hitters are looking for a strike early to jump on. Did a good job of taking both of those sliders, but more often than not in these kind of situations, you do not let a first pitch fastball go by for a strike.
Snapped in there for strike 1.
That's a good looking slider right there at 2-0. That one had some really good break on it from Smith.
So many good moments in his career to end games. 2-2.
10 is a big number.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder where that ranks really all time. I mean, how many guys are walking off that many? And it's been all sliders, 4 of them so far in this at bat to Ryan Zimmerman. We saw the 2-0-1 over the plate, 2-1 there, going a little bit below the zone. But Josh Smith right now, good rotation on that pitch. Ryan Zimmerman not seeing it very well.
See what he goes 2-on-2-2. Zimmerman puts it in play, but softly to short for Zach Kozar. A 1-2-3 9th inning for Josh Smith. And for the second night in a row, extra baseball in DC. Here last night, Nationals won 3-2. We play on to the 10th here on this Saturday night. Joe Davis and C.J. Nitkowski on a perfect night. Eugenio Suarez leads off this inning for Cincinnati and fouls it off. Reds got off to such a good start tonight, getting 3 in the first and 1 in the second. They've hammered out 10 hits, out hitting the Nationals 10-3, but without a hit since the 6th. Ooh. Suarez changes that with a bullet into center to start the 10th. MLS Soccer Sunday presented by Audi returns tomorrow. Sporting KC unbeaten in June. First match in July for Sporting KC taking on the Columbus Crew. It's at 7 Eastern only on FS1. You can also watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Been a fun summer of soccer on FS1 across the Fox networks.
Absolutely. A lot of people tuning in and checking out all that Copa coverage. All the crews working hard. The studio shows were really entertaining, went over well.
Brandon Phillips laid on a fastball at 93.
Brandon Phillips, zero interest in playing 11 innings based on that swing right there. And you know, one thing I failed to mention when we talked about him and the trade that almost happened, part of the reason why that did not happen was because Brandon Phillips was trying to add a year onto his deal, and I think that's important to make sure that we bring up that point. Had they extended him by maybe one more year, he very well could have been playing second base here in Washington, but the Nationals were not interested in going beyond what his current contract states, which pays him through next year. And at his age, it makes a lot of sense thinking about where he is at this point. But they were going to make him pay, and again, that's the opportunity that you have when you're in that situation.
Phillips with an opposite field single. Back-to-back hits to begin the 10th for Cincinnati.
Solis, as good as he has been this year, not looking particularly sharp. And now Mike Maddox looking back in for some reason, probably, and they're not making a pitching change here, but maybe wanting to give. There's nobody warming up in the pen, so I'm not exactly sure why he was looking back into the dugout at that moment, but wants to come out and talk right now. Maybe check to see who was on the bench as potential pinch hitters or what they want to do in a bunt situation, because this is clearly one right now with Billy Hamilton up and talking about maybe what defense they want to use right here and how they want to handle it, because Billy Hamilton is in there to sack bunt, but with that speed you have to be very careful, and the play really should be designed to try to get that out at third base.
Unique player presents a unique challenge.
Absolutely.
Hamilton 1 for 4 tonight. 2 on, nobody out, and a tie game in the 10th. Reds trying to snap their 5-game losing streak, trying to get only their second win out of their last 11 games. After they complete this series tomorrow, they head to Wrigley to take on the Cubs.
The Washington Nationals run what we call the wheel pick right there, as Danny Espinosa came behind the runner Suarez and started taking off for third base, and the idea is to try to get the runner to take a couple of extra steps as the pitcher lifts his leg and then turns in the inside, and what they do is they try to get a pickoff in that situation.
Hamilton bunts it foul, strike 1.
And the play here, as you see that bunt to the first base side, the play here and what you're taught, the fundamentals are to bunt the ball to the third baseman. You want him to field the ball, because it makes it much more difficult to try to get that out at third base. If a first baseman is charging, and you have a right-handed third baseman right now, so it's a little bit more difficult, but with the first baseman charging, he'll have an easy play to third. The bunt in this situation should be to third base.
But it goes to first, and Zimmerman runs past it. They're loaded with nobody out. They had exactly what they wanted. But Ryan Zimmerman, in his second inning of work tonight, came in the 9th, couldn't make the play.
Well, this is a case of trying to rush yourself defensively. Ryan Zimmerman is going to try to catch that ball and spin. Now, there was no play at third base anyway. Danny Espinosa did not beat the base runner Suarez there, so the play is to first base. And that is just a case of Ryan Zimmerman trying to do too much defensively in that situation.
And that is the Nationals' first error in 9 games. Their last error cost them the game. against the Dodgers. It was a 3-base error from Michael Taylor that led to the winning run. Now Barnhart. Ball 1. Suarez and Phillips back-to-back singles to start the inning. Hamilton aboard on the air. There's Dan Straley, who over the first 7 innings tonight gave up 1 run on 1 hit, a Ben Revere triple way back in the 3rd, but then allowed the 2-run homer to Danny Espinosa, and the bullpen allowed the tying run off a base hit from Bryce Harper. 1-2.
And 2 strikes at this point for Barnhart, trying to do a couple of different things. You have the infield in, so a hard ground ball is probably going to work to your favor, preferably in the middle of the field, or you try to lift that fly ball to the outfield and get that sacrifice fly. Any way that you can get this run across right now.
Just misses up, and it's 2-2. Full count with nowhere to put Barnhart.
And that's Solis overthrowing right there. You're in that situation again. Obviously, a full count is not where you want to be with the bases loaded. A 2-2 count. The approach has to be to try to finish the at-bat in that situation. You're not trying to get a guy to chase a ball out of the zone in a 2-2 count with the bases loaded.
Barnhart puts the Reds back in front, and it's booted by Harper. 2 runs will score. Hamilton moves to 3rd. It's 6-4 Cincinnati on a base hit from Tucker Barnhart.
What a sloppy inning this has turned into for the Washington Nationals. Barnhart does a great job, doesn't hit it hard, fights the high fastball off, and then Bryce Harper just misplays this and boots it. That's going to be an error on him, which allowed everybody else to move up another base and a 2nd run to cross the board.
And so the Reds get their first run since the 2nd inning. Suarez and Phillips back-to-back hits to start the frame, and they both score on Barnhart's single against Solis. All-Star Selection Show. The lineups for both teams are announced on ESPN. ESPN for the Home Run Derby as well on July 11th. And then the next night, the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Tuesday, July 12th, 7:30 Eastern, only on Fox. Matt Belisle comes in. And Ramon Cabrera pinch hits with men at the corners, and the Reds in front 6-4 after the 2-run single from Tucker Barnhart.
Belisle was one of the few that did not pitch in that game last night. It was just him and Rivera. You see the numbers there. Limited action so far, but done a good job with the strikeouts to walk. Just 1 walk this year.
Facing his old team. He was in Cincinnati to debut in 2003 and was there through 2008. Then Belisle on to the Rockies. Did something that's hard to do, and that is survive at Coors Field. Was an above-average pitcher for a half-decade there in Colorado. Last season with the Cardinals, now in his first season with the Nats. Hamilton at third, Barnhart at second. Nobody out in the 10th. And a Nationals team that hadn't committed an error in 338 chances commits them on back-to-back batters. Zimmerman on Hamilton's bunt and Harper on Barnhart's single.
And they were errors that were misplays by the players as opposed to tough plays that they couldn't handle. Ryan Zimmerman trying to do a little too much on a play at third that he was not going to have, and then Bryce Harper missing an easy ground ball and probably thinking about coming up and making a good throw and misplaying a soft base hit into right field. Now, it doesn't necessarily change the outcome of this game, knowing that there was already 3 base hits now, and chances are the Reds were going to score a run. But what it does do is open up the possibility of this inning being a big inning.
Cabrera down on strikes, first out here in the 10th. Wouldn't the Reds love to have Aroldis Chapman warming right now?
I'm sure that Brian Price does not allow himself to go down memory lane when he thinks about the absolute pleasure it was to step out of the bullpen, or excuse me, step out of the dugout and raise that left hand and bring in Aroldis Chapman to close things out.
They will walk Cozart intentionally, set up the force everywhere, and take their chances with Jose Peraza.
It's like crying over old girlfriends, Joe.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. You got to let it go, and you got to move on.
Wonder if late at night sometimes Brian Price looks at Aroldis Chapman's Facebook, remembers the good times,
watches some of the videos, maybe shoots him a text.
Yeah.
I miss you. Do you miss me?
So Cozart put on, and here's Peraza. I think I just saw our first fireworks of the weekend here off in the distance. Did you catch those off beyond the right field corner?
Should be a great weekend here in Washington, D.C. Monday's going to be just a great day overall in Major League Baseball. A ton of day games. First game starting at 11 o'clock Eastern, and they go as late as 10 o'clock Eastern. If you're a baseball fan, that is a full day. Lots of great action happening on Monday.
Peraza takes ball 1 from Belisle. You know, the Reds would like to get some more here. It's a nice bounce back by them to retake the lead. But the Nationals will have the top of the order due up in the bottom of the 10th. Peraza traded twice over the last year. Went from the Braves to the Dodgers, and then from the Dodgers here to the Reds this offseason. Same deal that sent Todd Frazier from Cincinnati to Chicago. On 2-0. He takes one that goes all the way to the backstop. Ramos back to get it, and then throws it back to the diamond with Hamilton sliding in to make it 7-4.
And this has gotten ugly here for the Washington Nationals in this 10th inning. Now, great job by Stephen Drew. That's the one thing to watch here. It's a wild pitch. Ramos, he tried to stand up and backhand that ball, but this is why middle infielders always back up. He tried to backhand that ball as opposed to actually dropping to his knees and block it, but the throw goes wild. But Stephen Drew does a good job of getting to the mound. It's what infielders are taught to do. You pinch on a wild pitch when there's a runner at third to make sure that another run does not score.
Wrong guy to have a chance to cut down there with Hamilton coming in. First base open with his 3-0, which is a strike.
And what that does, of course, is erase the double play, which was the reason that the Washington Nationals intentionally walked Zach Cozart to create at least a force at home, but also potentially to have that double play. And now that's gone as well.
Peraza with a pop-up to center. Revere comes on, and it sinks in front of him. RBI single, Jose Peraza. And the Reds have struck for 4 here in the 10th. Mike Maddox coming out to talk with Belisle. The Reds feel a little bit better now, getting those 2 additional runs. On the verge of snapping a 5-game skid.
This has got to be a frustrating inning for Belisle. You think about the strikeout, the intentional walk, and then the weak base hit, and you feel like you execute a pitch and you make it, and the hitter cannot get the barrel to it, but he's still able to get a base hit. And the result is that we start to see this game get blown wide open in the 10th inning.
Barnhart with a big hit in the frame. The 2-run single to score Suarez and Phillips. Barnhart coming in to score the 4th run of the inning. And now Jay Bruce. One for 4 with a single and a walk. This is a rare blip on the Washington's bullpen radar. Number 3 in the majors in earned run average. Jonathan Papelbon with his second rehab outing in a row tonight. Pitched a scoreless inning last night, dealing with that intercostal strain, attempting to come back from. He's in Double-A right now, rehabbing it. It shouldn't be long before he's back. Sean Kelly has handled the closing duties in the meantime with Papelbon down and has done a nice job.
Sean Kelly's always had the big arm, has always had the ability to get swings and misses and strike guys out, and you're absolutely right. In the interim, he has done a good job, but I think what this highlights for the Nationals is a need to get a little bit deeper in that bullpen and try to add that arm, because a significant injury to anybody, any of the big arms down there, especially Jonathan Papelbon, who has been closing things out, makes things much more difficult for Dusty Baker as he plans on trying to manage his team through the postseason. So they will undoubtedly be in the market. A reunion with Aroldis Chapman and Dusty Baker, I'm sure, would be one that would be welcomed here in Washington, or Andrew Miller, or any of those relievers that are with the Oakland A's that are all probably going to be available here over the next month.
Bruce bounces one up the middle. It's picked up by Murphy at second to throw him out. And because the runner was in motion, they stay out of the double play and get the 5th run of the inning with Cozart in. Well, as poor, relatively speaking, as the starting pitching market is as we near the trade deadline, the same cannot be said for the relief market. There are some really game-changing arms out there available.
Potentially, yes, and I think the Yankees will move on from Aroldis Chapman. He's a free agent at the end of the year. Andrew Miller is an interesting option because he still has 2 more years under control after this year. So he would do really well as far as what he could bring back in a trade. Fernando Rodney was just traded to the Miami Marlins. He has been fantastic this year. Just one earned run allowed for him. He goes and now he's going to set up for A.J. Ramos in Florida. And so the Marlins are in trying to make something happen. I mentioned the 4 guys that are in Oakland. And that is certainly a possibility. Now, Sean Doolittle just went on the DL with that club, but you have Mark Zepchinski, Ryan Madson, John Axford. There are some arms there that a lot of teams will be inquiring about with Billy Beane and the Oakland A's.
They have the clean-shaven policy in Miami. Have you seen Fernando Rodney yet with the beard?
It's funny, I forgot about it. I did not check on that. He pitched yesterday, and I forgot to check in on that. Taking it old school. Yankee style, right? Of course, the non-facial hair.
With an old Yankee running the show down there. Don Mattingly, nice first season as manager in Miami.
I'll tell you what, I'm not against it. I mean, some of these beards, I know they've been fun and all, but I wouldn't be disappointed if some of them went away. I guess it'd have to be all of them. Can't pick and choose which one you like. Not that one. That's a good one.
Yeah,
that's neat.
clean.
That's clean. I'm talking about the crazy, crazy ones.
Like Danny Espinosa's headshot.
It was unbelievable. I mean, it fascinates me that guys can play with that. That's a lot of hair in a lot of places there for Jason Worth. But when I see the Dallas Keuchel beard, which, by the way, he takes tremendous care of it. It is nice and neat, and I appreciate that. But I'm fascinated that he can pitch with that thing.
Would distract you?
I mean, listen, I get distracted by any bright light.
It's true.
So I don't know if I'm the right guy, but yeah, I would feel like it would distract me.
It's been a game of runs. Reds scored the first 4. Nationals scored the next 4. Reds have scored 5 in this inning. Adam Duvall with a man at second and 2 gone. Mets beat the Cubs tonight. And so the Nationals, barring a huge comeback in the bottom of the 10th, would see the division lead down to 5. Although if you had told them that they'd head into Sunday afternoon with a 5-game lead at this time last week, they probably would have been okay with that. They had that 7-game skid where the Mets and Marlins both were knocking on the door.
No, absolutely. And you're going to go through those ups and downs and the winning streaks and the losing streaks. And that was a down without a doubt for the Washington Nationals. But they have been back on the winning track. And when you look at rosters, this is probably the best in the division. I know the Marlins are trying to make some noise and trying to catch this club. But the Nationals, much like they have been over the last couple of years, are the best team on paper. This is the first year I think that we're really seeing them put it all together and making that run of the division the way that they should. But it becomes bigger than that also for this club, because it's also about advancing in the postseason, not getting there. That's not good enough for the players that they have here, for the roster that Mike Rizzo has put together. And you bring in Dusty Baker with all his experience. It is about winning and going deep into the postseason, and they have that ability. They have the rotation for it. They have the lineup for it. Bryce Harper is going to be better than he has been this year. Ryan Zimmerman and Anthony Rendon are going to be better than they have been this year, and they're in a pretty good spot. This team has a chance this year.
Duvall to the hole at short. Espinosa throws him out. And that ends a 31-minute half inning that was aided by some defensive miscues from one of the best defensive teams in baseball. The Reds score 5 runs and lead 9-4 to the bottom of the 10th. the top of the 10th inning. We go to the bottom half. Jumbo Diaz comes in to try and finish it out. He and the Reds and their fans happy that Cincinnati didn't stop after the Tucker Barnhart 2-run single. They added a few, and things are much more comfortable in a situation where rarely has it been comfy at all for Cincy this year.
It certainly has not, and I'll tell you who's not impressed with that 5-run inning right now. It's the Los Angeles Angels, who scored 11 runs in the 7th inning against the Boston Red Sox tonight. That is absolutely amazing. But digging into Jumbo Diaz, here's a guy I played with in winter ball at the very end of my career. He's got a good fastball. He throws the ball hard, but he's had some ups and downs. The home runs have been a little bit of an issue, but a guy who got to the big leagues late in his career at 30 years old. He made his debut as a rookie. He's a super nice guy. Big dude for sure. Jumbo is no accident. That is a name that he absolutely deserves to have, but just a tremendous guy. I love seeing him here making his way to the big leagues, breaking in at 30 years old.
Faces Ben Revere, top of the Nationals order here in the 10th. 1 ball and 1 strike. The other side of that game you're talking about, with the Angels leading the Red Sox 21-2, is the Red Sox sudden fall. You go back to May, pretty clearly they were the best team in the American League. But since the start of June, Boston is 11-16, on their way to 11-17, and there have even been some rumors that John Farrell's job is in jeopardy at this point.
It's probably the case. He has an option year for next year that has not been exercised yet, so that's always going to be a conversation that is had when your team is struggling. And the other thing was Dave Dombrowski allowed him to pick the roster. They didn't force anything on him and put the roster together the best way that you want to. And like you said, they got off to that great start, but things have slowed down significantly since.
Revere thrown out by Phillips, 1 away in the 10th. 4 home runs hit by the Angels in that game, including 2 by C.J. Cron, who has a beautiful box score line tonight. He's 5 for 5 with 5 runs scored and 5 RBIs.
That's a beautiful thing, and it just changed since we last talked, because he is now 6 for 6 on the night. Batting average up to 287. This is an important year for C.J. Cron. I think as the Angels try to figure out whether or not he is an everyday player in the big league. So a good night tonight, but it's been a good season for him. Trying to wonder, and they got to figure out, can he be their first baseman of the future in Anaheim?
Strike 1 on Worth. So yeah, Cron is 6 for 6. Carlos Perez, who entered the game around 200, is 5 for 6.
That's a lot of hits. So how many guys in that lineup have more hits than the Nationals tonight?
What do the Nationals have? 3?
Yeah, so there's a couple guys in there.
Only 2, surprisingly.
That is surprising.
But you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that have 2 hits. With the Angels in front of the Red Sox 21-2 with that 11-run 7th inning.
Kind of made everybody forget about that Minnesota-Texas game that happened earlier. The Twins beat the Rangers 17-5. There's a lot of runs getting thrown around in Major League Baseball today.
Twins and Braves, the only 2 teams with worse records than the Reds at this point. That one drifts inside, 1 and 2 on Worth. In the case of the Braves and in the Reds, everybody knew it was rebuilding stage. The Twins, though, a little bit surprising. They had the momentum late last season. They had the several young pieces they were excited about coming into this year, and have been miserable from the start.
Last year, probably a little bit better than expected, I think, for a lot of people. And then you think, okay, they're ready to take that next step, and instead they end up taking a step back. One of those young players who hasn't quite gotten to the level they want yet, and he's still very young. Byron Buxton, of course, a highly heralded prospect. Has not quite happened for him just yet, but the starting pitching has been an issue. They lost Phil Hughes for the season, but even before that, that starting pitching had struggled.
Cozart juggles and throws, and Worth is aboard as Duvall couldn't get the tag on him as he went by.
You see the frustration here from Zach Cozart. I talked about what a great glove man he has been, and this is a play he believes and we know he should absolutely have. And then he rushed a throw, and he probably had enough time to make a good throw, as Jason Worth did not get down the line that fast, and Cozart was unaware of how much time he actually had. And like you said, Adam Duvall tried to swipe the tag, tried to sell first base umpire Adrian Johnson on making that tag, but he did not.
And thanks to the Reds adding on after Barnhart's go-ahead 2-run single, Harper could hit it a mile and it would still be a comfortable lead. Well, it seems like forever ago, Harper tied this game with an 8th inning single after Espinosa had hit a 2-run home run to bring the Nationals to within 1. Harper 1 for 3 with a walk tonight. Dusty Baker saying he's seeing signs that Bryce Harper is returning to form. Hit hard to first. Duvall goes to second. Back to first. Not in time. And you've said, too, that there are some players you just know are going to hit, and he'd certainly be one of them.
Without a doubt. And Bryce Harper frustrated because he squared that ball up and he hit it hard. And this probably should not have been as close as it was. Zach Cozart ended up hesitating a little bit, but that is a face of frustration. To watch this play right here, Bryce Harper just barely beats that, and it probably could have been a double play. Like I said, just a little bit of hesitation on the part of Zach Cozart. But when things are not going your way and you square a ball up and you don't get a hit, that frustration just multiplies, and that's what we're seeing right now from Bryce Harper.
Daniel Murphy with an rare 0 so far tonight.
Jumbo Diaz has done a nice job. The game plan against the left-handed hitters that he has seen has been to throw that fastball inside. He's done a great job of executing into those lefties. We've seen that fastball get up to 97 miles an hour.
.98 there.
Trying to coax a check swing. The home plate umpire Eric Cooper, who's not going to appeal, who did not even think that was close. Oh.
Murphy fouls that one off himself. 1-2. The Nationals fans hold their collective breaths for a moment.
Well, this is not something you see every day. Watch him foul this ball off and catch him in a place that you do not see every single day. You worry about fouling one off. Oh, look, I caught him maybe on the inner thigh, I think.
Wow.
I hope. It's usually the ankle, maybe the shin every once in a while. It's odd when you see a guy foul one off his knee, but never that high up on his leg.
There's no way the old Daniel Murphy does that. The opposite field slap hitter.
You're right. Because he was all about keeping his hands in, playing pepper with the left fielder and the center fielder, getting his base hits. And he has learned late in his career now, starting at 30 years old last year, how to pull the ball more and how to pull it for power.
Murphy pops it up into left field. Jose Peraza is under it. And the Reds, with a 5-run 10th inning, snap their 5-game losing streak and snap the Nationals' 6-game winning streak. For CJ Nitkowski and the rest of our crew, Joe Davis wishing you good evening from D.C. 9-4 Reds. After this break, Kevin Burkhardt from our Los Angeles studio.